a luxurious mansion, a ducal title and untold wealth, and impeccable manners with perfect style. All this belongs to her mother-in-law, whom she is now looking at. At tea, the girl next to her felt uneasy. The mother-in-law slowly puts down the cup, and he coldly asks why there are still no signs of pregnancy. The girl chokes on her tea. She quickly wipes her lips and apologizes. The mother-in-law wipes her dress and reminds, the family needs an heir. The heroine understands blue blood, zero charisma. She thinks they don't even let her have tea in peace. They've been in the house for almost 2 years, and a fortune teller chose their wedding date. And it was the mother-in-law who forced them to get married. But, according to her, you can't control every action. She asks if the girl realizes how lucky she is to become a duchess. There was only one reason for the choice, and it is repeated endlessly. 4 generations were renowned for their fertility. The girl's mother had given birth to many, so what did she do for these 2 years? And what can she possibly bring to a family with an almost imperial history? The heroine only thinks why she endures this humiliation. The mother-in-law reminds them of their deal. The girl replies that she remembers. And she remembers how she signed the letter with trembling hands. It's infuriating. It wasn't she who signed the contract, but Selena. Her past and current situation are too different. The blonde clicks her tongue. Useless. But there is nothing to answer. And with her son, she never slept. When memories of a past life returned, it became clear that this was serious. If we repeat the fate of the original Selena, everything will end badly. She will become a poisoner wife and will be executed. The mother-in-law asks if she's cold. The girl replies, no. She orders her to take care of her body for the heir and her head. Recently, everyone doubted her sanity. The girl smiles. Everything is fine with her body and mind. Suddenly there is a noise. The sound seems familiar. The maid runs in. The Duke has fallen again. In the room with the Duke, the mother-in-law asks, again? The guy writhes in pain. Even when he's sick, he's still handsome. The mother-in-law screams her son's name. This is Duke Amid Ypret, her sickly husband, who could die at any moment. He reaches out with a trembling hand. In the novel, he's a minor character, and little is known about him. She takes his hand. Although their relationship is not that close. Let the marriage be fake, but it is unbearable to see him suffer. Selena asks him to hold on, and prays that he doesn't die now. He suddenly squeezes her hand, too hard for a sick person. She asks him to calm down, hiding her pain. The grip tightens. Tears well up. This is no reason to break her fingers. The maid pushes her. She's in the way, let her go. This is Emma, Amida's maid. Selena would leave herself, but he won't let her. Another maid consoles him. The master will recover. She replies, she hopes so. Later, Raymond says the critical moment has passed. The mother-in-law is unhappy. Why did the attack recur so soon? The heroine is next to the Duke. He seems to have woken up. She is glad. She looks at his sleeping face. He is like an angel. But suddenly he opens his eyes. She turns to him, and he tells her to leave. She's in shock. Is he still in pain? He asks where it hurts and whether he should call Raymond. He pulls her by the hand. She opens her eyes wide. He looms over me and repeats, get lost. She looks at him in confusion, and he asks, for what? Selena sighs heavily. This irritates him, and he asks to let go. She pulls her hand away, thinking. He held it so tightly that his knuckles turned white, but he remains silent. He again orders her to leave. She patiently asks him not to be angry. He must not worry. He demands that it stop, and he tells her not to dream of getting what she wants. Selena asks, who even talked about this? He is confused. She's indignant. Did she ever say anything like that? Where does all this energy come from? He's angry, and she thinks he won't give up so easily. Her gaze falls on the bottle on the nightstand. She takes him and tells him to stop hurting himself, and quickly take the medicine and lie down. He looks at the bottle with suspicion, as if it were poison. She says, if that's the case, there's no choice. I'll have to force him to drink. With a smile, he asks to say, eh. He's sarcastic. I heard she's gone crazy. It seems true. She smiles. Perhaps. In the original, Selena was silent, but now she argues. He is not used to this. Is he really that afraid of the medicine? And this man is deeply unhappy. He joined the Knights of the Sun, the country's most honorable guard. And immediately he was struck by an unknown disease. Even lying in the room, he is tormented by cramps. The mother-in-law insists that he could die at any moment and that an heir is needed. And she is just a woman following orders. Alien to him. And she became that woman. He gets angry and asks not to look at him like that. She asks, how exactly? He screams, like a dog dying in pain, and snatches the bottle from her hands. He drinks the medicine calmly, and then he turns his gaze to the young lady. At this point, the maids lower their eyes in embarrassment and try not to interfere. And suddenly, the main character starts applauding. She says it's just great. One of the maids awkwardly hints that the girl has lost her mind. After this, he asks if everything is okay now, and the main character confidently answers that yes. The young man adds that the medicine has been taken, which means it's time for her to leave. The main character agrees and leaves the room. Already outside the door, she quietly asks him to rest now. Sometime later, finding herself on the street, the girl admits that she feels as if she has returned from a war, and the maid anxiously asks if everything is all right with her mistress. She adds that this is not the first time this has happened, and the gentleman sometimes really does go too far. Selena replies that nothing can be done, and in his place she would hate herself too, and the maid is perplexed as to what he is talking about. The young lady asks why everyone pretends not to know anything, since the other maids whisper that she is just a duchess who has come to give birth to an heir. Rona swears she never thought that, and the main character replies that she knows it, but that's what others call her. Rona wants to add something, but the heroine understands that she simply doesn't know how to lie. Selena says she's fine and asks to be left alone, and the girl obediently agrees. But suddenly, he notices the mistress's hand and screams because it is all covered in bruises. The young lady is surprised to realize that this has not happened before. She carefully moves her arm and makes sure that the bone does not appear to be broken. Selena says everything is fine and thinks that compared to that future, this is nothing. The maid says warmly that the mistress is too kind and that the gentleman does not understand at all what kind of heart she has. It's good that she supported him for the last 2 weeks, although people in the house had already started whispering. It was rumored that the young lady had gone mad, and Rona, realizing what had been said, suddenly fell silent. The main character just looks at her silently. Rona tearfully apologizes, but Selena calmly replies that everything is fine. She realizes that in the eyes of others she looks crazy, and the maid wonders what she is talking about. Selena wonders who would have believed that 2 weeks ago her memories of her past life returned to her, and that this world is actually a book that she once read. Moreover, her role in this story is not at all enviable. She is the wife who plunged her own husband into eternal sleep. The girl realizes that the subtitle of the novel, Lady Corona, Veronica's Memories, is not accidental. The book was written by Veronica herself and is essentially her memoirs. And the story about Selena in these memoirs looks like this. She's a villain who poisoned the sick Duke of Amid and was eventually executed. All this is presented from the words of Camilla's mother-in-law, who dreamed of taking revenge on her daughter-in-law, the woman who put her son into eternal sleep while society speculated about Selena's motives. Camilla even paid the executioner to make the execution as painful as possible. The two girls whispered, claiming that Selena wanted to get the inheritance. She was taken for the sake of giving birth to a son, but there was no child. She allegedly went mad, and the sick Duke was easy to poison. They also said that if her husband fell into eternal sleep, everything would go to her, but the unfortunate Duke did not even suspect this, and there were also rumors about a lover. At Camilla's behest, Selena was thrown into the dirtiest cell and treated worse than a runaway slave until she fell into eternal sleep. When the criminal was led to execution, people whispered that she was like a demon, repeating the same thing over and over again. She insisted that it wasn't her, but no one believed her. At Camilla's request, they tortured her longer and more painfully, prolonging her torment, and they said that she fell into eternal sleep only on the 3rd day. Now the young lady realizes that with the return of her memories, her mind began to crack at the seams. One of the maids even asked if she had gone crazy, and the main character was only wondering why all this had to happen to her, and yet she pulled herself together, deciding to look for a way out, which meant studying Veronica's biography From the Orphanage to the Throne. After all, the novel was written by Veronica herself, and there is almost no information about other people in it. No matter how much Selena analyzed the book, she found no clues to salvation. She understands that if she hadn't signed the contract offered by Camilla, everything could have turned out differently. And her life wasn't always like this. The young lady's family was well off thanks to her father, who ran a large company. But during one of his trading voyages, his ship was caught in a storm and crashed. This news broke the mother, and she fell into an eternal sleep due to the premature birth of her 5th child. Then the father's partners appeared and demanded compensation for damages. And the young lady had to take care of the family and start working. She did everything from cleaning and cooking to any household chores. She even worked in a pharmacy, not refusing anything. The girl sold all her property, but there was still not enough money. And she couldn't send her younger brothers and sisters to school. Then Camilla came to her and said that in her family the women were famous for their fertility, but the heroine did not understand the hint. Camilla only added that she hoped this applies to her too, and then she directly stated that she wanted the girl to bear her son an heir. Duchess Camilla had a sickly son, who lived for the present and did not know when he might fall into eternal sleep, and he was the only heir. If he falls into eternal sleep, the Duke's line will end. An heir was urgently needed, but no one wanted to give their daughter to a sick man who could die at any moment. And then the Duchess made a decision. She chose a girl from an impoverished but respected noble family. Camilla promised to pay off all debts and provide her family with a decent life if an heir was born. The main character understood that she had good heredity and no parents who could object. She was perfect, the daughter of ruined aristocrats without protection. Selena had no reason to refuse, and after marrying, she became a duchess. The story could have ended happily if a child had been born, but everything went wrong from the very first meeting. When the young lady entered his room, he just coldly asked who she was. The girl was confused and realized that he seemed to know nothing. The blonde repeated the question, and she didn't know how to explain what was happening. She was told he was ill, but he looked remarkably healthy. He asked impatiently if she intended to remain silent any longer, and she couldn't help but think how handsome he was, not at all like he seemed in the marriage of convenience. The young man asked irritably if she could finally open her mouth. And if she is a new maid, let her go to the others and find out where her room is. The girl replied that she had been told to spend the night there, and the guy asked in surprise what they were talking about. He admitted that his mother had also told him to come to this room, but it all seemed strange. And again he demanded to know who she was. Then the main character blurted out that she was the Duke's wife, deciding come what may. The guy, stunned, asked again if she was really his wife. And he added when he had managed to get a wife, if he didn't know about it, and she quietly replied that it was a month ago. She arrived a month ago and was trained by Camilla, or more precisely, she was taught how to conceive an heir. Then she signed a marriage contract and became his wife, without even knowing that her husband didn't know. Now the young lady says she made a promise to Duchess Camilla, and he asks what it was. She replies that she promised to bear him an heir. The guy looks at her in amazement, and she prepares herself for his wrath. But nothing happens, and she carefully opens her eyes. He sits down on the bed and calmly says that if not today, then tomorrow he will plunge into eternal sleep, and asks what she wants to leave behind after him. Then amid gestures for her to come closer. And the main character is confused, wondering what he's getting at. The young man again reminds her that he told her to come because she came for the child from her husband, who could fall into eternal sleep at any moment. The young lady understands that this is true, but she has never had such an experience. The guy mockingly asks if this is the night, and she quietly confirms, because the doctor said that the day is suitable. All week she took vitamins and ate only healthy foods, as advised for expectant mothers. The young man asks what next, and before she can understand him, he suddenly grabs her. He lays her down on the bed and asks if she was taught this. Selena remembers that Amid's body is weak, it cannot be pressed. During an attack, it is necessary to call for help, and it is dangerous for him to become overexcited. She was told that this was not a game, but a duty for the sake of the heir, and now she clearly understands this. The boy grins, noticing how his mother and Raymond are eager for an heir. He tells her to act as she was taught, but the young lady only remains silent. The young man smiles and seems to be testing her resolve. He says that his mother probably explained in detail how to behave with him. What and how to do, how to react, everything had to be told, and the heroine feels his strength and understands that he is only holding her. He asks if she was sent to the bedroom without preparation. His fingers rest on her neck, and for a moment the girl thinks that he wants to plunge her into eternal sleep. But he steps back and calmly remarks that she is quite brave. In shock, she asks why he is doing this, because she was told that he was sick. She pushes his hand away and asks him to stop, and he sits on the edge of the bed and tells her to forget about it. Even if he puts her into eternal sleep, her mother will bring another. He tells her to leave, and she is almost ready to do so. But he understands that if he gives up now, everything will be over. She turns to the Duke, and he coldly reminds her that he told her to leave. Then Selena falls to her knees and says she can't. Today she is obliged to spend the night with him, and he asks why. She recalls the clause in the contract about the penalty for disclosure and replies that she cannot explain. But she adds that this is the only way she will be recognized as a real duchess. She might be kicked out, the Duke might find another wife, but she has nowhere to go, and if he wants to send her into eternal sleep, let him do it. And yet she cannot leave, although inside she is afraid that this is her end. The guy takes out a sword blade, and she desperately screams for help. He just sighs and asks with a smile how she even dared to enter a stranger's bedroom. The girl says that she has brothers and sisters, and she cannot fall into eternal sleep. As he swings his sword, she closes her eyes, expecting the worst, and there is a cut sound. But it turns out that the Duke has injured himself, and she asks in horror what he is doing. He calmly replies that everything is correct and she should continue screaming. There are maids outside, it's the newlyweds, first night, and the silence will arouse suspicion. The girl understands that he is not going to put her into eternal sleep, but is only creating the appearance of their closeness. She doesn't understand why, but the young man continues to act. He takes off his shirt, sits down and asks to bandage the wound with cloth. She fulfills the request, and still asks why he is doing this. The guy asks her in response if she wants to sleep with him. The young lady replies that this is not what she meant at all. Amid says that she was probably given a condition to bear his child, since his mother is a duchess. He doesn't know what they promised her, but she won't be able to get what she wants, so it's better to keep quiet. The girl guesses that he is offering to pretend to be close without a real connection. This means that she will never give birth to a child from him. Remembering his brothers and sisters, she still asks if he himself didn't want an heir. He replies that this is what the mother wants, seeing how her son's life is slipping away. And it was she who found the girl without support and sent her to him. The young lady realizes her mistake in thinking only of herself and not understanding his pain. For everyone, he is just a means of procreation. With tears, she realizes what she has done. The Duke asks in surprise why she is crying. She apologizes and thinks that she really has gone crazy because she agreed to too much for the sake of money. My memory flashes back to my brothers and sisters, their joy at school and delicious food. But she understands that she needs to go back and look for another way to survive. Ask Camilla to terminate the contract. Even if I have to go into debt again, it will be more honest. She asks him not to tell the Duchess what happened, and he replies that he had no intention of doing so. The girl is surprised and asks why. He reminds her that he promised to keep quiet, and she doesn't understand why he's helping her. After all, the whole estate will think that they were together. She agrees and asks again why he is doing this. He explains that if he doesn't spend the night with her tonight, Mother will continue to send new girls to him. In the morning, the maids will see marks on the sheets and report them to the Duchess. Then the contract will not be terminated. Everyone will get their own, and that's all he can do for her. Looking at the contract, the young lady realizes that the night was terrible. Camilla's pressure is mounting now that she knows she's the novel's villain. Selina decides that she will not allow herself to be plunged into eternal sleep in such a terrible way, and that there must be a loophole in the contract. The fine for the violation is almost 5 billion, a frightening amount. She is shocked to think how she ever signed such an unfair contract. And suddenly he notices a special clause that if the reason for the contract disappears, Party A can terminate it. Of all the unfair conditions, this is the only one that plays into her hands. So we need to force Camilla to ask for a divorce herself, and everything will be resolved much more easily. After some time, the girl comes to her and asks if her mother called. Camilla confirms and asks when to expect good news. Selina replies that she is trying, but she feels the situation is becoming tense. Camilla talks about Amid's new attack and the rumors about the girl's madness, asking if she has nothing to fear. Selina understands that it is because of the memories that have returned, but she cannot tell the truth. Camilla warns that if the pregnancy does not occur due to the girl's fault, all the money will have to be returned. The young lady agrees and says that she knows the conditions, but she also has something to say. Camilla demands an explanation. Selina, nervously, declares that she wants to handle everything related to her husband herself and feels that she has finally made up her mind. The blonde asks what she means. The young lady replies that she knows too little about her husband. What does he eat? Does he walk enough? What time does he get up? And how does he live? Camilla wonders why this bothers her. Selina says that until now it was Camilla who was courting Amid, and she only sat next to him, although in reality she was kept away. Now she wants to take care of his health herself because he is her husband. And he even feels a little embarrassed when he says this word for the first time. Camilla sharply replies that Raymond is taking care of Amid's health and advises her to attend to her responsibilities. Selina agrees and says that for the sake of the pregnancy, she will be more attentive to herself, understanding that this is just the beginning and if necessary, she will move on to Plan B. She adds that she is taking all the fertility pills prescribed by Raymond. And he notices that after 2 years of marriage, there is no result. Perhaps the problem lies elsewhere. Camilla asks what exactly, and the young lady replies that the health of both parents is important for conception. She gently hints that the father's health also plays a role and asks if the woman understands. After all, Raymond cannot know all the intricacies of their relationship. The blonde turns pale when she hears this. She asks in horror if the girl wants to tell him that her son is sterile. And then he abruptly declares that this is impossible because Raymond never said anything like that. The protagonist takes a deep breath and calmly asks how Raymond can even know this. After all, he is not Amid's wife. The young lady then gently places her hand on the woman's hand and looks straight into her eyes. She says she worked as a nurse to pay off her debts, and even as a pharmacist assistant. Therefore, she asks to give her a chance because she wants this child more than anyone else, and the woman finally allows her to try. Selina wonders if everything really worked out, and now all that's left is to deal with Amid. But Camilla warns that if her son's condition worsens, or she notices bad intentions, there will be no mercy. The main character bows and replies that she understands everything, realizing that this is a risky game. And since she has been given the chance, she is obliged to save Amid. Later, one of the maids does not let her into the Duke's chambers, saying that he is resting. Selina gets angry, realizing that there is also this obstacle. She pushes Emma's hand away and firmly says that she has come to see her husband, not the maid. Emma replies that the Duke does not like to be disturbed, and Selina clearly feels disdain for the poor noblewoman. But now she decides not to tolerate it anymore. The young lady warns that she will complain to her mother if she is disturbed. The maid gets scared and asks if she is talking about the headmistress. Selina confirms and adds that she is entrusted with taking care of Amid's condition, realizing that she relies on Camilla's authority. The maid reluctantly gives in. Selena knocks, hears permission to enter, and understands that everything is going according to plan. When she enters, she sees Amid at the window. And again he notes how handsome he is. He asks what she needs. She says his name with a smile, and he suggests going for a walk together. He looks at her incredulously and asks if she has gone crazy. Selena expected this reaction. She calmly explains that the weather is nice and the newlyweds sometimes go for walks together. He asks again about the newlyweds, and she reminds him that they are spouses, not relatives. She gently touches his hand and notices that he has turned pale. He replies that everything is fine, but she asks again. Amid sharply asks to be left alone. The girl falls silent, and he himself begins to doubt whether he has gone too far. But Selena smiles again and repeats her request for a walk. He grumbles that it's weird and since when have they been hanging out together? She replies that she wants to help him become healthier, because sun and fresh air are important every day. He approaches and she decides not to retreat, despite her fear. The girl says that she received his mother's permission and will now take care of his health personally. Amid flushes, thinking she is at one with her mother again, and squeezes her shoulder so hard that she feels his strength. He reminds that he did not sleep with her and did not tell his mother about their agreement. And he asks if she has decided to have a child anyway. Selena replies that he misunderstood her. When she releases her hand, it starts to hurt. Amid notices this, and she remembers how hard he squeezed her during the attack. He guesses and asks if it's because of him. She confirms and is surprised that he remembers. After all, he usually denied everything and left. And now his expression is completely different, as if he is embarrassed. She admits that it was very painful. He asks worriedly if he broke her arm. She replies that almost, and the pain still hasn't gone away. She shows her blue skin, and he remains silent. Selena wonders if she's pushing too hard and mentions that Raymond is helping with the treatment, and Amid suddenly apologizes. She asks again what he said. He repeats his apology and promises to be more careful. The girl looks at him in complete amazement. His ears turn red, and she sees a new side of Amid. She even feels a little sorry that she is the only one who notices this, but she decides to take advantage of the moment. And again, he suggests going for a walk. They go outside. The girl enjoys the fresh air and says that the rain washed away the dust. The maids are surprised to see them together. Amid asks what she will get for this walk. She replies that it's nothing, all that matters to her is his health. She recalls rumors that the Duke hates his wife. After all, it was believed that she married him for money, and Selena wants to rewrite this history in order to avoid execution. They reach the Moon Garden, the most beautiful place on the estate. She suggests going further. Suddenly, a cat jumps out of the bushes, and the girl gets scared. She loses her balance and almost falls. But Amid manages to catch her. Selena thanks him, surprised by his reaction. She then notices a cat and asks if it's Noir. She hasn't seen him for a long time, and Amid wonders whose cat it is. Selena explains that this is their estate and asks if he didn't know. He replies that he didn't know about such a dirty and plump cat. She laughs and says that on closer inspection, he is very cute. Amid warns that you can catch an infection from animals. She moves away from the cat and agrees that caution is a good idea. For the sake of his health, she should avoid unnecessary risks. He asks if his name is Noir. She confirms and explains that the name is perfect because of the black color. They used to call him Chimney, but she thought that was too weird. Amid sighs, noticing that the cat's color really does look like it came from a pipe. Selena notices his slight smile with surprise. She asks him if he is cold. At that moment, something gets into her eye. Amid asks her to wait, and comes closer. He carefully removes the speck. And he says that everything is fine now. The girl is embarrassed, not understanding what is happening to him. First he caught her, now he helps her sew clothes. But before it seemed that he hated touching her, suddenly he starts coughing, and she anxiously asks if everything is okay. He suggests going back, and she asks if he has difficulty breathing or if his chest hurts. He says that everything is fine and asks her not to fuss, and she agrees and promises that they will go out again tomorrow. Amelia is surprised, because he didn't say that he would walk with her every day. But Selena reminds him that she now cares about his health, and daily walks are only beneficial. Amid frowns and asks why she needs all this. Selena thinks for a moment that he is angry and repeats again about fresh air and health. He doesn't believe a word and asks to stop talking nonsense. But she insists she is sincere. Amid coldly asks if there is any sincerity in their marriage. The girl understands that he is right, but still decides to ask directly. Why doesn't he believe her and always expects a catch? He replies that he knows about her agreement with her mother and the reason for her appearance here. Selena becomes wary and asks if he is sure he knows everything. Amid says that she will be paid for marrying someone who can fall into eternal sleep at any moment and for giving birth to a child. She has nothing to say in response, because it is true, and it is easy to condemn her. He admits that he is upset at how suddenly she started clinging to him, and he adds that he doesn't care if she is greedy for money and is ready to play a humiliating role. Selena clenches her fist and says that he speaks beautifully, but his soul seems to be in more pain than his body. And then he breaks down and declares that he's not quite right in the head. Amid is silent. She flares up and says that if a person speaks, he must be listened to, and she does it for him. And he asks if he really thinks that she really wants a child from such a rude man. She grabs his hand and tells him that they are going back into the house and that he mustn't catch a cold. And then he screams out from the pain in his arm. Amid asks worriedly if she is in pain. She quickly replies that everything is fine, she just forgot about the injury. He takes her hand in his and asks her to show it. He notices that the bandage has come loose and carefully adjusts it, and Selena thinks that he is apologizing again. The more she gets to know him, the less she understands, and in his touch, she feels an unexpected softness. And suddenly he realizes that this trauma can be used in the future. Amid asks if she is stupid, and she is surprised by such a question. He is indignant at how she could forget about her injured hand. And Selena catches herself, thinking that he is really worried. He finishes the bandage and says that now we can go, and asks her not to do stupid things anymore. They soon return to the estate. In the room, she is met by Rona with shining eyes, and Selena asks what happened. Rona says she saw everything while she was running errands, and Selena becomes wary. The maid claims to have seen her and the Duke kissing in the moonlit garden. Selena remembers the moment with the speck in her eye and understands where the misunderstanding came from. Rona excitedly says that she thought it would all be limited to the bedroom, but it turned out to be much more serious. Selena asks if that's what it really looked like, and Rona is sure the whole house is already talking about it. The girl thinks that perhaps this is even for the best. Rona is glad that after all the difficulties, the lady is finally getting along with her husband. Selena realizes that Rona is her only true ally. Their meeting was unusual, not at all like with the other maids. It was Selena who bought her from the slave market and saved her from her father, who wanted to sell his daughter. That's why Rona is always on her side, unlike the others. Selena says that even if she leaves the estate, she will take care of Rona's wedding with Robert and help with the house. The maid is embarrassed and asks how the mistress knows. Selena smiles and thinks it's obvious. She says that she found out by accident and won't tell anyone. Then he lies down on the bed and says that he will rest a little. But Rona remembers that Dr. Raymond was looking for her, and Selena sighs that she should have said something earlier. She asks why he's looking for her, and Rona suggests it's because of her strange behavior a couple of weeks ago. At that moment, there is a knock, and Raymond appears in person. He comes in, greets her, and asks how she is feeling, and she replies that she is healthy. He says he's glad to hear it, but regular checkups are important, and suggests getting her checked out. Selena notes how pleasant he makes an impression, and agrees. The examination proceeds calmly. He finds no problems, but reminds her that she was recently caught in the rain. He gives her a bottle, and advises her to take the medicine to restore her strength. She agrees, noticing how softly and confidently he speaks. It's no wonder that even Camilla trusts him. But Selena thinks that it may be connected with the immersion into the eternal sleep of Amid. She still doesn't understand how she could have poisoned him, and she increasingly thinks that she was set up. The poison could have been mixed into her food or medicine, but she had not been allowed to touch them before. This means that someone with access and trust could have done it. Raymond notices her thoughtfulness, and she says that she is already taking fertility drugs, and asks if there are too many drugs at once. He replies that he understands her concerns, but it is important for her to take care of herself as well. Selena says she wanted to discuss with him an urgent matter of conception. He asks if it's about pregnancy, since he didn't see any signs, but she says it's something else. Raymond takes out his tools, thinking he's missed something. But she says the problem isn't her, and in her husband, and he clarifies whether she is talking about the Duke. Selena confirms and asks to tell more about Amid's disease, and asks if there are any hidden deviations. The doctor assures that there is nothing serious, but she asks for full information about the indicators, medications, and diet. He wonders why she suddenly cares. Selena admits that she was previously inattentive to her husband. He is about to say something, but she interrupts him, and she admits that she doubted whether to talk about it. But in bed, Amid behaves differently than before. It's difficult for her to talk about this, because the topic is personal. Raymond replies that he didn't notice anything unusual during the examination. But Selena reminds him that he can't know all the details, because she is his wife. The doctor apologizes for being overconfident and promises to pay more attention to her words. Selena understands how he is gaining her trust, but still asks to tell her everything related to the body they are trying to restore. He agrees. After a while, he comes out of her room visibly tired. Rona returns and is surprised by her good mood. Selena says she discussed Amid's diet with Raymond and is now going to the kitchen to see the chef. Rona is surprised the lady wants to go to the kitchen in person. Selena confirms and offers to go together. But he notices the anxiety on the maid's face and asks what's wrong. Rona replies that Chef Jean is the best cook, but it's very scary, and when they enter the kitchen, there's a burning smell. Selena notices poor ventilation, and Rona gasps, surprised by the state of the Duke's kitchen. The main character admits that she had no interest in housekeeping before, At this moment, someone comes up from behind and asks who they are. Selena turns around and sees a man with a knife and screams. After a while, the three of them are sitting at the table, and the cook apologizes, admitting that he mistook them for thieves. He could not even imagine that the young lady would want to meet him in person. Selena notices that he looks much softer when he puts the knife down. Jean asks why they came. She replies that she wants to discuss the amid diet. He asks if he's talking about the Duke's menu, and Selena asks to see it. Studying the dishes, she realizes that the food is light and healthy, but contains almost no animal protein. She asks if the chef himself created this menu. Jean replies that Raymond checks the plan and sometimes makes adjustments, since the Duke has poor digestion. Then he asks if there is a problem. Selena praises his cooking and says that everything is done perfectly. But he adds that people still need meat, and the cook is surprised. She explains that you can't get full on such food. Even debutantes eat more. And, stumbling, he suddenly remembers the former Amid. She says that he was the commander of the Sun Knights, strong and powerful, which means he needs more nutrition. And he assures that Jean can prepare a light dish even from meat. The chef argued that a sudden change in diet could be harmful, and Raymond was against it. But Selena confidently says that the best chef can handle it and prepare something healthy and simple. Jean is inspired and agrees to try, so they quickly find a common language and develop a new menu together. The idea arises to move the kitchen, since the nobility hides it in the basement, and Jean simply had no choice. Selena doesn't understand how one can demand exquisite dishes while ignoring the chef's conditions. She decides to take it upon herself and move the kitchen to a worthy place. Selena promises a spacious space and help with the budget for ingredients. Jean is stunned and asks again if this is true. The girl persistently convinces Camilla that cleanliness is important for Amid's health. In the end, Camilla agrees. With a plate of food, Selena thinks that big changes take time. She brings the dish to Amid and says that today is a special dinner. He looks at her with disbelief, but she assures him that they tried to make it tasty and healthy. The dish turned out light but filling. Amid swallows silently and takes a spoon, and Selena asks if it's appetizing. He is already trying the soup when the maid asks him to wait. We need to check if there is poison. Rona objects, saying that the lady personally tried everything. Selena calmly says that rules are rules. It's better to make sure Amid doesn't get sick. She even praises Emma for her dedication to duty. Emma sheepishly agrees, and he takes out a silver stick to check. The Duke says there's no need to complicate things. He'll just eat. Emma hesitates, but Selena gently insists on checking. She says confidence is more important and asks Emma to confirm. Thanks her for her understanding. The stick does not change color. The food is safe. The Duke begins to eat. After trying it, he is surprised and takes another spoonful. Selena is relieved to realize that it turned out delicious. Soon the plates are empty, and she notices how quickly he ate everything. She suggests taking a walk to help the food digest better. Amid is surprised, but gets up. Suddenly, Emma screams that he can't. Selena wonders what's wrong again. The Duke asks the reason. Emma says that you need to take the medicine first. Selena notices that the maid has become even more wary. Emma hands out the pills. He takes them, and Selena thinks that she hasn't tested the drugs yet. She remembers a conversation with Raymond. He gave her a list of the Duke's medications. Thanks to her experience in the pharmacy, she realized that these were high-quality tranquilizers and herbs. She asked carefully if there were any energy-lowering drugs, trying not to arouse suspicion. Raymond assured her that there was nothing of the sort, and she decided not to go into details. After all, according to the original story, it was she who poisoned her husband, and unnecessary questions are dangerous. Emma asks why Selena is looking like that, and she replies that everything is fine, although she doubts the origin of the drugs. Amid comes closer and asks what she is doing, and he reminds her of the walk, and she again notices how attractive he is. She agrees, thinking that without his difficult character he would be perfect. But, looking back at Emma, he realizes that he still needs to get the medicine. Otherwise, there will be no peace. A strange feeling overcomes her, either hatred or jealousy. They walk into the garden, and something flashes next to Amid. He says it looks like a big ball of dust, and Selena is confused. She notices Noir, and he jokes that you can't call a cat with such clean paws dust. She speaks of him affectionately, as if he secretly lives in a mansion. Amid asks what secretly means. Selena remembers the cook complaining about the thieving cat, and admits that he is not quite theirs. She is afraid that Amid will want to throw him out as dirty and dangerous. Therefore, he quickly says that he will find a place for him and asks not to drive him away yet. Amid looks at the cat, meowing pitifully, and he asks if she will fulfill his request if he wants to kick Noir out. He notices that she talks a lot about caring, but she can't always vouch for herself. Selena firmly replies that she will take responsibility for the cat. Noir rubs against her dress and she screams. She is worried that she will stain her clothes and create extra work for the maids. Amid wonders why she cares. She remembers her part-time jobs and knows how hard it is to wash and care for clothes. And he understands that the maids will definitely notice the extra washing. The Duke says that this is their job, and they get paid for it. Selena replies that it's not about fear, but about understanding the work of others. The cat comes up to Amid and rubs against his leg, and she screams again. She picks Noir up, saying he might have germs on him. Amid notices that she takes care of him everywhere. Selena is indignant. Who else should she worry about? Suddenly, the Duke freezes and notices a snake nearby. Selena doesn't understand his reaction at first, but he feels something cold and slippery. Everyone sees the snake and starts to panic. Amid tells Selena not to move and to stand still. Amid suddenly grabs the snake, and Selena screams in horror that it is dangerous, but he instantly deals with it. The girl looks at her hand and realizes how lucky she is, because the snake could have bitten through her skin. The Duke apologizes for frightening her and asks if her arm hurts, and she assures him that everything is fine. In response, she anxiously asks if everything is okay with him, because the snake was too large and had large fangs. He grins and says that he already has a bite mark on his left hand. Selena immediately grabs his hand and demands to see the wound, intending to call Raymond. But Amid starts laughing, and she gets indignant, because she was seriously worried. His laughter sounds so genuine that she is momentarily at a loss. Suddenly, she notices that the hem of her dress is torn, and the Duke calmly reports this. She quickly covers the gap and asks if it's because of Noir. Amid takes off his shirt and throws it over Selena's shoulders. He himself remains half naked. Later, Selena is already sitting with the Duchess at tea. Camilla coldly asks if it is true that they were caught in an indecent state. Selena is puzzled as to where such rumors come from. Camilla is outraged when talking about shame and people's opinions. Selena replies that it was a misunderstanding. The mother-in-law remembers the snake and asks what would happen if her son had an attack. The girl says that this is an accident that cannot be predicted. Camilla demands that unnecessary walks be stopped and calls her trust a mistake. Later, Rona brushes Selena's hair and notices nail marks. Selena assumes that Amid touched her while saving her from the snake. Rona jokes about passion because before he never left a scratch. Selena shows her mother-in-law the footprint and says that it was left by her son. Camilla wonders why he needs this, and Selena hints that he has become more energetic. She adds sheepishly that although he is sick, he is strong. Camilla, confused, says that she didn't teach her son this. Selena assures that her mother has nothing to do with it. He adds that the results of diet and exercise cannot be negated by one accident, otherwise it would be too drastic. Camilla coldly asks what she means by disappointed. Selena replies that she doesn't believe that it's only her decision because someone is clearly making her doubt it. She understands that the news arrived too quickly, which means they were being watched. Someone was watching them all this time. Selena asks point-blank if this is true. Camilla replies irritably, who would dare to influence her? Selena carefully hints that this is possible if she has an observer assigned to her. Camilla is indignant, and Selena adds that a refined mother would not stoop to such a thing. She says that she believes her and hopes for reciprocity, and that the incident with the snake was just an accident. Camilla reminds us of the astrologer's words and tells us to be careful during the days of strong Jupiter energy. Selena agrees but understands that there is still an informer. Rona enters the room and brings a fertility cure. Selena realizes that the real power in the house lies with the headmaid Greta. She drinks the medicine and winces in bitterness. She is tormented by guilt because she is taking drugs to conceive even without being close to the Duke. She notices that Greta doesn't leave right away, as if she's watching for a reaction. Greta says she wants to talk. Selena smiles and replies that she is listening. Greta recalls that the lady allowed the chef to manage the budget. And she adds that now products can be purchased without her approval. Selena confirms and asks what the problem is. Greta states that housekeeping expenses are her responsibility. Selena calmly says that she knows how difficult it is to manage such a house alone. She adds that she has already discussed everything with her mother, and permission has been received. Greta clarifies whether the lady really ordered the kitchen to be moved. Selena replies that Jean will take responsibility and is surprised by Greta's persistence. She coldly says that she obeys only Camilla. Selena reminds that it was Camilla who gave her the right to take care of her husband's health. And if conditions for the cooks are a problem, she is ready to discuss it with her mother personally. Greta remains silent, exerting heavy pressure. Her power is reinforced by Camilla's support. But Selena is not going to be afraid anymore. She ends the conversation, and Greta is forced to retreat. Selena calls out to her and asks if she was the one who told about the snake. Greta replies that she was far from the garden and doesn't know anything. Selena lets her go, but realizes that the informer still exists. This means that someone else is acting against her. She sinks heavily into the chair. Rona is outraged by Greta's arrogance, and Selena replies that it's just how she is. Now all that's left is to play innocent in front of Mother and ignore Greta. The bitterness of the medicine can still be felt in the mouth. But she's more worried about the Duke's drugs. Rona notices her thoughtfulness and offers to help. Selena says it's impossible. Rona asks tearfully if she is really useless. Selena is quick to explain that she doesn't think so at all. Rona says that the lady has become braver and she wants to help. She dreams of seeing her as the mistress of this house, and she reminds him that she owes her life to her. Selena remembers leaving the mansion once a month to visit her sisters. One day she saw a girl being dragged by the hair and ordered her to follow them. The cart led to a slave market, and Selena exchanged her accumulated money for Ron. She said she needed a maid and asked Camilla for help for the first time. She thought that the servants would be against it, but everything turned out differently. Camilla even gave money for Rona to send to her family, which came as a surprise. Selena says that she should thank her mother, but Rona is sure that it was the lady who saved her. With tears, she repeats that she wants to help. Selena finally decides to ask her for one thing. After a while, Rona returns to the room, and she hands over the medicine she got. Selena is amazed and asks how she did it. Rona explains that Robert gets his drugs from Raymond and that it's their secret. Selena, horrified, asks if Robert is hurt. Rona sheepishly admits that she only kissed him on the cheek, and he was confused. She assures that everything is under control. Then he asks what the lady is going to do with the medicines, and Selena asks to prepare the carriage. She realizes that she must meet one person. Soon she enters the pharmacy and, knocking, asks for forgiveness. Inside, almost nothing has changed, and she sees the owner. The man is glad to see Selena, who once worked for him, and she is interested in his affairs. Walter wonders how many years have passed since then. Walter says that no matter how drunk he is, he still remembers the young lady. And he notices that she looks much better now. The calluses have disappeared. There are no new wounds. Selena understands that, despite the drink, he is not lacking in observation skills. He suggests getting down to business and asks why she came to him. The man reaches for the bottle and calls it a healing tincture, and Selena reminds him that his wife forbade him to drink. Walter justifies himself by saying that it is not alcohol, but a medicinal infusion. Selena sighs and suggests dropping the topic. Then he hands over the medicines and asks to check them. Walter asks if she wants to know the ingredients. She replies yes, and even brings the recipe. He notes that there is a recipe, but she still doubts the manufacturer. Selena says she just wants to make sure, and he agrees to check. Suddenly he tastes the medicine, and she screams at him to stop. She realizes he doesn't even know if it's safe. Walter says he doesn't know who the drug is for, but it is unusual and matches the prescription. Selena asks if he's sure, and Walter smirks that if there was poison, he would have already fallen into eternal sleep. Then he adds that you can add a small dose to make everything look natural. Selena nods, just enough to not arouse suspicion. The pharmacist explains that this is not a medicinal product but a strong painkiller. And suddenly he asks why he is so drawn to drinking. Selena looks at the bottle and notices that it is not water at all, and he laughs that he has been exposed. She says outright that it is alcohol. Walter claims that he has eliminated the harm and enhanced the beneficial effect, and now he is alert both day and night. At that moment, his wife comes into the pharmacy and invites him to try her miracle cure himself. He asks in shock if it is Lily. Lily greets Selena and apologizes for the previous scandal. Selena remembers how she prepared medicine without permission back then and understands Lily's anger. She admits that she was wrong too, and is about to leave. Lily suggests taking some of the infusion, since Walter brewed too much of it. The man stands almost in tears, not knowing what to say. Later, Rona asks what the bottles are, and Selena replies that they are gifts. Returning to the mansion, she hears Camilla ask where she went. Selena remembers giving the coachman coins for his silence, but realizes that she was still betrayed. She calmly replies that she was at the pharmacy, and her mother already knows about it. Camilla says she should have asked Raymond, and asks why she should go herself. Selena explains that she wanted to learn more about fertility drugs. Camilla is indignant. Would she really trust a charlatan when there is Raymond? Selena replies that he is not a charlatan but a pharmacist, and reminds him that Raymond's pills did not produce any results. She says that taking care of Amid's health is important, but she can't forget about herself. Then she asks directly why they are following her, because it is disrespectful. Camilla almost chokes on her tea, and she clarifies what exactly she said. Selena realizes that there is no turning back now. She repeats the question about surveillance. Camilla dismisses the idea that this is not the point. Selena clarifies whether the word disrespectful offended her, and he asks if surveillance isn't a sign of disrespect. She adds that she is not making any direct accusations, since her mother has no need to monitor, but the hint is clear. Camilla replies that Selena herself did not say where she went. She calmly explains that not every outing is related to family, and asks what the problem is. Camilla says there is no problem, and Selena adds that she has decided not to take the new medication. She will trust Raymond as her mother advised and admit her haste. Selena notices that the looks of mother and son are equally piercing. Their cold gaze takes her breath away. Greta enters the room with tea. Selena praises the drink and asks if Greta brewed it. Camilla says she has no equal in this matter. Selena remarks with a smile that the maid has learned a lot from her mistress. She adds that Greta is lucky to serve such a woman. Greta, thanks for the praise. Selena replies that it is well deserved, because she serves her mother faithfully and always carries out her orders. Greta smiles coldly, and Selena notices this insolence. She understands that Greta controls the coachman and many things in the house. And he deliberately puts a spoke in her wheel. Selena reports that Jean's kitchen is almost ready for use. She thanks Camilla, but she replies that we are talking about her son, and gratitude is unnecessary. Selena agrees and says that everyone has to obey the rules, even if someone doesn't like it. She asks Greta if this is true, and she answers evasively. Selena notices that last time, Greta talked a lot about the kitchen, but today she is silent. And it is precisely her ability to remain silent when necessary that makes her mother's favorite. Selena gets up and says that she will go to Amid. After all, he was probably bored without her all day. In the room, he notices that she must be tired of pretending, and she asks what he means. Selena notices that he looks especially sad today. She says he must have been bored. He is silent, and she thinks that if she is lonely, she can just say it. He suddenly asks why she's looking at him like that, and reminds her to stop. Selena is perplexed that her gaze can plunge someone into eternal sleep. He says that her look spoils his mood, and she does not understand her guilt. He claims she's staring again. Selena is indignant that she looks where her gaze falls, and he adds that he has a handsome face, although his character is difficult. She doesn't understand why he's picking on the compliment. He turns away, and she notices that his ears have turned red. Selena remembers that he is the youngest commander of the Empire's Knights. One title attracts many girls. If it weren't for his illness, he would have married a noble beauty, and not on an impoverished noblewoman with debts. He asks why she needs to discuss this. She says that if a lady has ever praised him, he should admit it, because for the first time he has become a little more animated. He replies that no one but her praises him so openly, and she says that directness is also a talent. He asks what talent has to do with it. Selena, copying his tone, jokingly tells him to leave. He looks at her, puzzled. She says she hopes one day he will become more courteous, but she's happy with everything as is, just let her not avoid the conversation. He is surprised, but remains silent again. And Selena asks him directly if he missed her. Amid only asks her not to say stupid things, and Selena asks how much longer he will deny everything, but he repeats that he has already spoken out and does not want to continue. She recalls that because of the snake incident, they dug up the entire garden and destroyed all the snakes, and now you can't even go for a walk. He cuts her off abruptly. He says that since walks are no longer possible, there is no point, let her leave. But Selena puts her hand on his palm and offers to just sit next to him and talk. She asks him to tell her about the Knights of the Sun, because he dealt with the snakes so confidently. Amid replies that he has been on battlefields since childhood. When asked what he did in peacetime, he says that he lived in the Order's residence to the east of the Imperial Palace. Selena truly admires him. After all, the Knights of the Sun are the best warriors of the Empire, and their commander is the highest honor. She adds that His Majesty has complete confidence in this order. Amid notes that she is interested in palace affairs, but, in his opinion, he has long been forgotten and will only be remembered in an obituary. Selena assures him that he will recover and return to duty, but he asks why she is trying so hard. He admits that he thinks about her motives all the time. Selena asks what conclusion he has come to, noting to herself how handsome he is. He says that he doesn't understand her, and this makes him angry, because if she doesn't want a child from him, why is she behaving like this? Selena realizes that her behavior does seem strange. But if she tells the truth, she will look crazy, so she says that she just wants him to live a very long time. And she asks to believe in her sincerity, and he clarifies whether this is the only reason. She answers in the affirmative and gets ready to leave. But he holds her hand and looks at the bandage, asks when it will be removed. Selena says she heard she'll have to wear it for a long time. He asks if she is imagining it or if she actually heard it. She replies that she heard and adds that it is time to start treatment, so she leaves. Ami Jongli looks after her and thinks that she seems simple and understandable. At first he thought she was pretending and that everything would soon end. But now she doesn't understand why she's trying so hard. One day he is told that the young lady has left, and that today he will be able to eat in peace. He notices that the house is unusually quiet. After all, she usually seemed modest. She kept her distance but always kept an eye on him. He puts down his spoon and lets out an irritated breath, and he asks himself why she is doing this to him. After a few days, the doctor says the bandage can be removed. Selena wonders if it's time already. She jokes that the bandage makes it easier to remember the pain. Raymond agrees with her words. Selena adds that her hand is a trifle compared to Amid's condition. And yet the doctor's treatment brings him relief. Raymond frankly admits that this is not a treatment, but only pain relief and seizure prevention. He gives drugs to those who have little time left so that they can forget about their suffering, and Selena remembers Walter's words. But the doctor says Amid is young and he is looking for a way to really help him. Selena thanks him and mentally apologizes for her doubts. Raymond asks her if she's okay, and she doesn't take the hint. He says Camilla is worried about her health, including her mental state. Selena asks what exactly he wants to say. The doctor explains that Camilla is worried about her unusual behavior. Selena replies that nothing special happened and asks for an explanation. He admits that Camilla asked if she should be sent to a good medical facility. Selena understands that we are talking about a home for the mentally ill. She directly clarifies whether she is talking about a psychiatric hospital. Raymond says it's an institution for aristocrats with the best facilities and doctors. Selena tearfully declares that they think she's crazy. She asks if this place is safe, because if a healthy person is sent there, the consequences are unpredictable. The doctor replies that everyone goes through difficult times, and the facility is designed for such cases. Selena apologizes, and he says everything is fine. He adds that ordinary people don't like such places and is about to leave. When he leaves, Selena sinks into a chair. She understands that 2 weeks in a semi-conscious state were her mistake, and now she needs to maintain a clear mind. She decides to calm down and think everything through. The only thing known in the world is that Amid is married, but no one knows who his wife is. And in case of divorce, he can easily marry again. Selena thinks that this might be what Camilla is trying to achieve. After all, if she wanted to get rid of her, she would have sent her to the hospital long ago. But she's worried about why Greta is so clearly wary of her. Rona enters the room and announces that a maid from the head mistress has arrived. Selena asks what happened. Rona says her name is called, and Selena notices that the maid is new. She informs that Camilla is waiting for her in the Lark's room. Selena is surprised and wonders what she will be scolded for this time. When she enters, she doesn't understand what's happening. Looks like there's a ladies' meeting today. And Camilla clearly didn't warn her in advance. One of the women notices that this is a young duchess. Camilla tells Selena to come over. She agrees, but remains confused. Camilla invites her to sit down and meet the noble wives. She represents the wife of the Marquis Mordo, then the wife of Count Lepan, and the wife of the Marquis of Avon. Selena smiles politely and greets everyone. Over elegant tea, conversations move from gossip to politics. Selena mentions seedless grapes. One of the ladies confuses her words with a hint about her son. Selena explains that she was simply recommending a tasty grape variety and asks if that's right. Another lady confirms that thanks to land improvement, the grapes have become seedless and tastier. But one blonde says her husband doesn't like it. The pink-haired lady asks why. She jokes that her husband is afraid that his own seed will disappear. The women laugh. The pink-haired girl apologizes to the Duchess for laughing. Camilla says that otherwise it would be too boring. The pink-haired woman adds that Countess Laplan is the main source of news in society. Selena laughs and asks if it's true, but then someone mentions that Veronica will be back soon. The blonde adds that she has a special relationship with the Duke of Ypres. Selena's mood suddenly worsens. The name Veronica seems to grate on her ears. Camilla calmly says that Veronica, the youngest daughter of the Marquis de Lestrange, was engaged to Amid as a child. Selena is amazed because Veronica is the heroine of the novel who almost became Amid's wife. Rona quietly notices that the lady looks tired and asks if she is having nightmares again. Selena replies that she still has nightmares, but less frequently, and she hopes that this is a good sign. Rona notices that the kettle is empty and needs to be filled. Selena recalls a conversation about Veronica's imminent return and her special relationship with the Duke. And he wonders why there was not a word about this in the book. She understands that it is unlikely that their relationship was limited to childhood. But he decides not to get hung up on it and even thinks about distracting himself by counting sheep. Suddenly she feels something at her feet, lifts the blanket, and he sees a huge snake, not understanding how it ended up in the bed. Selena, horrified, orders the snake to go away. At this moment, Rona enters with water. Seeing the snake, she freezes with fear. Selena whispers that the snake is poisonous, and Rona panics and asks what to do. Selena remembers Amid's words about not moving and tries to calm down. She remembers that he grabbed the snake by the head. But looking at her fangs, he realizes he's about to break loose when the snake's tongue reaches closer. Rona tearfully says that she must protect the lady. Selena decides that she can't remain idle. On the count of 3, they grab the snake together and deal with it. Later, the maids discuss how she got into the room and whether it is the same snake from the garden. Selena doesn't believe she could have crawled that far on her own. She glances at Greta and thinks, but he says out loud that this is just a commotion, and everything is under control. The maids disperse, wishing her rest. Selena remarks that it looks like someone's gift, and Rona asks again in horror. Selena understands that this is a threat, a hint to behave as before and be invisible, but she is not going to back down, and asks Rona to leave the snake. She wants to show it to one person. Late at night, she is already at the pharmacy, and Walter is surprised by their visit. Selena asks him to look at the snake, and asks if he understands such things. He examines it, and says it is a poisonous species found only abroad. He is surprised where she found it, and Selena asks if it is dangerous. Walter replies that the bite will cause swelling and itching, but will not lead to eternal sleep. He adds that the worst that can happen is loss of consciousness, and suggests that the snake could have been used for another purpose. Selena specifies for which one. He explains that the poison is used in painkillers and contraceptives. And he adds that the snake is expensive, the poison is difficult to obtain, so he offers to leave it to him, and she agrees. Later, Selena thanks Jean for the trip, and he replies that it's a small thing. He explains that he goes to the fish auction at night, and this is a convenient way for her to leave unnoticed. He apologizes for the smell of seafood in the carriage, but Selena says it doesn't matter. She thanks him for his efforts on behalf of Amid. Jean says that everything became possible, thanks to the relocation of the kitchen. He adds that Greta doesn't like it, and Selena asks if it's true. Jean replies that the one who controls the money always speaks louder, and now her power has been curtailed. Selena notices a light in the window of her room. She realizes that someone has been there and found out about her absence, and this makes her angry. She asks Rona to go in first and act as if nothing happened. And she herself heads towards Amid's room. She understands that asking for help will be strange and he might just kick her out. Therefore, she decides to cope on her own. But suddenly, someone grabs her hand. This is Amid. He asks what happened, and why is she standing at his door? Selena wonders how he knew it was her. He replies that it is too noticeable. Selena thinks that if it weren't for the illness, he would have easily conquered Veronica. She explains that she went out secretly and, upon returning, noticed someone in her room. Amid suggests pretending that she was with him all the time. She replies that if it is unpleasant for him, then there is no need. He notices her bandaged hand. After a pause, he agrees to help, but asks why she left at night. Selena admits that someone planted a snake in her room. He doubts it, but she assures him it's true. And she regrets that she even talked about it. However, he seriously asks who could dare to do such a thing. Selena says she doesn't know, but the snake is expensive and clearly specially bred. He agrees, and she wants to tell him something else. There is a knock at the door, and the maid reports that the young mistress has disappeared. Selena understands that if she is exposed, Jean will also be under attack. Amid calmly says that his wife is now next to him. He lets down her hair, and she is stunned. He whispers to her to be quiet and opens the door. He states that they are spending time together and looks at the maid with displeasure. She apologizes and relays Greta's words about the disappearance of the lady. Amid asks if they were afraid that his wife was cheating on him, and he tells me to tell Greta that his wife is with him and safe. Selena can hear his heartbeat racing. He tells her to stop, and she backs away, embarrassed. He comes closer and says that now we need to discuss something else. And suddenly he asks why she smells like fish. After explaining, he asks why she has so many enemies and notices that everyone immediately began to suspect the worst. Selena replies that this is her situation, and there is a bitter truth in it. She thanks him for his help and asks him to rest. Returning to the room, she realizes that the rumors have already spread. She remembers his question about enemies and thinks that she only wants to live peacefully and for a long time. But people don't let go of power so easily. As soon as she tries to take it away, a storm begins, and soon Camilla scolds her for her recklessness. She says that if Amid had become overtired and had a seizure, the consequences would have been dire. Selena explains that she was simply scared of the snake and asked him to stay close, adding that this indicates that his condition is improving. Camilla replies that even if she has gained strength, she can't be alone too often, and Selena agrees. Then Camilla asks why she came. Selena says she wants to discuss yesterday's snake in her room. After all, they promised to get rid of all the snakes in the garden. But Camilla asks, so what? Selena hints subtly at Greta, and he reminds us that the head maid is responsible for safety. And according to the contract, she is obliged to give birth to an heir. Camilla coldly asks what she's getting at. Selena calmly asks her mother to punish Greta, and Camilla is visibly surprised. The young lady adds that the maid is not coping and should be temporarily removed from her position, but Camilla sharply asks not to touch Greta. Selena explains that the maid was brought by her mother herself, so no one could contradict her. Even Jean felt the pressure, and her authority was clearly exceeded. At this moment, Greta enters the room with soft drinks and interrupts the conversation. Camilla coldly remarks that it is just in time, as there are rumors of abuse of power. And because of this, Selena demands her temporary suspension. Greta calmly puts down the treats and says that it is impossible to manage a large staff without being strict. There was discontent, but she just wanted order and discipline. Selena notes to herself how confidently she spoke, and he asks the question, what would have happened if a snake had crawled towards Amid? Camilla is momentarily at a loss. Selena continues that if the snake had bitten the Duke, the consequences would have been dire. Greta immediately falls to her knees before her mistress, and she reminds that she always served faithfully and kept the mansion in order. Camilla asks her to get up, and Selena realizes that Greta is valued much more than she thought. And suddenly Amid intervenes, asking if this is his order. Selena is surprised by his appearance. Camilla notices that he came to her himself. Amid says he agrees with his wife, and he believes that Greta should think about her behavior because she should not appear in his chambers at night with accusations. Camilla justifies that she was worried. But Amid says it was more suspicion than concern, adding that his wife was with him. Greta counters that the day was not favorable for intimacy. Amid coldly asks if he is obliged to ask permission. Selena understands that in Greta's place, she would have lost consciousness long ago, and Camilla notices her son's love for his wife. He replies that his wife's honor is his honor too. And someone must answer for her humiliation. Camilla agrees and declares it to be an order from the Duke of Ypres, while Greta begs him not to do it. Selena is shocked by this turn of events. Amid heads for the exit, declaring that he has said everything. Selena wonders if a faint smile crossed his face. Camilla announces that Greta's position is temporarily vacant, and Selena will now take over the household. She checks to see if she refuses. Selena replies that she will do everything since her mother trusted her. Greta looks at her with cold fury. After tea, Selena goes to Amid. He notices that she is already entering without knocking. Selena says she thought he was feeling unwell, but he replies that it was just spring sleepiness. She touches his forehead. He compares it with his own and realizes that he has a fever and needs to call Raymond. Amid intercepts her hand and quietly calls her too noisy. Later, he is already lying in bed, and the doctor says that it is a common cold. The medication has weakened the immune system, but there is no reason to panic. Selena still clarifies whether he is okay and squeezes his hand. The doctor assures him that he is less sick this year and that it is thanks to Selena, after which he takes his leave. Selena feels a pang of guilt for doubting his intentions. Amid opens his eyes. She says with relief that the temperature has gone down and asks Rona to bring water, but Emma intercepts the tray, declaring that it is her responsibility. Selena wonders what the difference is. Emma insists that she does not want to neglect her duty. Selena agrees and asks for the medicine to be given. Amid turns to Emma, and she literally glows. She comes closer and promises to give him a drink herself, but Selena stops her and asks her to leave. As she reaches for the medicine, Emma holds it back, repeating that it was her job. Selena presses a point on her wrist, and the maid's hand unclenches. She calmly thanks Emma and gives medicine to Amid. He hesitates, and Selena asks if she should get him drunk again herself. Then he snatches the bottle and drinks it, and asks everyone to leave, but Selena stays. Smiling, he declares that he won't go anywhere. Later, she wipes the sweat from his forehead, and he thinks, should such a person really be plunged into eternal sleep? This seems absurd to her. She quietly asks him not to fall into eternal sleep, and promises to save him. Later, Selena sorts through the ledgers and asks if this is all. The former head maid replies that yes, but Selena notices the absence of a detailed book. Greta says she's too complicated, but Selena demands to bring everything without exception. She is sure that Greta is angry with her, and she understands why. It's difficult to figure out, and Rona asks if it's too complicated. Selena explains that bookkeeping style varies from person to person, and everyone writes differently. She realizes that Greta won't help, and Rona suggests calling the butler, Colton. Selena agrees, and soon Colton arrives, apologizing for disturbing them. He says that under the previous Duke, he was in charge of the household and is ready to help. Selena asks where the bulk of the budget goes. Colton replies that most often it's for consumables, like candles and soap. Selena notices that the supplier is listed, but not the quantity. Colton clarifies whether the partner has changed. He adds that suppliers used to be reliable, but changes occurred recently. Selena asks why they were changed, but he doesn't know. She asks for your opinion, if you have one, reminding him that he is a loyal and careful butler. Colton hesitates. And finally, he says that they do this for the sake of embezzlement. At this moment, Greta enters with the requested books. She is surprised when she sees Colton, but he still puts the books on the table. Selena thanks her, and in the evening sighs heavily, saying that she is basically finished. And now everything needs to be double-checked. Rona wonders why the lady is reading a cookbook again. She admires Selena's abilities, but she is embarrassed. It turns out the book is upside down, and Selena admits that she is in a different language, but wants to cook nutritious meals for Amid. She sighs because she doesn't understand anything, and she can't ask Jean now. Rona suggests just asking him, and Selena clarifies who exactly she is talking about. After a while, the Duke is already looking at her with the question of why she came now. Selena lays out the books and says she wants to read together. Amid notices that he himself is already reading, but she insists that he will read to her today and suggests starting with cooking, assuring him that it is not that she cannot read. The Duke glances at the cover and says that it is the language of the Principality of Rhodes. Selena perks up, saying the country is famous for its cuisine, and asks if that's true. He asks if she really wants to hear this, and she confidently answers yes. Then he translates the title, and it turns out that the book is called 100 Dishes for a Hot Night with Your Loved One. And next to it is another one, with recipes for a hot night, and advice on how to turn your husband into a real beast. Selena immediately asks to stop and forget about it. Amid asks with a grin why she refuses, since she brought it herself, and she demands the book back. She almost screams for him to give it to her immediately. She is indignant that he is making fun of her, and at that moment she twists her ankle. She loses her balance and falls right on him, having time to think that he is beautiful, even in such an awkward situation. Selena immediately crawls away and asks if he is hurt. Amid clenches his fist, and he sharply asks what her goal is and why she is pretending to be sincere. Selena insists that she is honest because she has already done so much, but he still doubts her. She asks him to focus on recovery. Deep down, she just wants him to live a long time, and for her to be able to get out of this mansion. But he demands the truth. Selena is amazed why he continues to press. He grabs her hand and demands to explain her intentions. She understands that she won't be able to avoid answering the question. And in a panic, she says the first thing that comes to mind, that she loves him. Amid looks at her with obvious disbelief and calls it nonsense. Selena asks if she would behave like this, if she didn't love. He warns that he will not accept trivial explanations. She, gathering her courage, says that everything changed when he caught the snake. That's when she felt love. He is stunned, then turns away, and she does not understand what happened. He asks her to leave, and she thinks that the confession has shocked him. Selena decides that it is better to actually leave, and asks him to rest. Later, Rona brings the medicine and says that there are 2 of them today because Raymond added 1 more. He wants to help fulfill her wish to have a child. Selena notices a sweet smell, and Rona reminds her that today is a special day. This is the day of intercourse. Selena drops the bottle, shocked to realize this is happening today. Rona wonders how anyone could forget, and Selena laughs nervously. She understands that after that incident, everything was normal, but this day is still awkward. Rona says the astrological forecasts are favorable. And again he holds out the bottle, and Selena doubts whether everything will be okay. Later, she takes a bath, and Rona adds a potion to make her skin smell nice. Selena recalls how Raymond calculated the days of conception, and Camilla even invited a famous astrologer. In the novel, this lady was considered an authority among the capital's ladies. Her magic concerned love, marriage and pregnancy, and servants whispered about her accurate predictions. It was said that she could even predict the birth of twins. Selena understands that Camilla is eagerly awaiting the predicted date. Rona asks the lady to drink the medicine, but Selena knows she can't be pregnant. In the evening, she is literally sent to the Duke's room. Rona says goodnight and closes the door before Selena can say anything. Selena finds herself in an awkward situation again, and in a cute outfit. She approaches the bed, deciding to quickly say hello and leave. She says that it's already late and she'll go home, but Amid tells her to go the other way. He points to the bed and tells me to sit down. Selena is shocked and thinks she should refuse, but it still comes closer. Amid smiles and says he heard funny rumors. He notices that everyone is too worried about his condition, and he himself began to doubt. He asks if she is implying that he is incapable of fulfilling his marital duty. Selena is stunned, and he pulls her closer, reminding that he told me to sit next to him. And suddenly he throws her onto the bed, asking if it's comfortable. Selena asks him not to joke like that, but he replies that it's her turn now. She insists that such things are better discussed with words. But he unties her dress, and he says that he is tired of words and wants to have fun. Selena panics and asks what he's doing, and he replies that honesty is important. And he adds that he heard about serious reasons that are hindering him. She looks away and asks who said that. He responds by asking who can be trusted. Selena remembers the names of her mother and Raymond and asks if it is them. He asks about the 3 of them again, and he asks if she told them about his weakness, and she becomes embarrassed. He asks if it will be okay if he gets better, and is it true that it's all because of her love? He offers to prove his feelings and show how much she loves him. His hand slides higher, and he notices that the moment is right. Selena blushes and asks to wait, assuring that this is a misunderstanding. He advises her to think wisely. If she wants a child, then she should act decisively, and he asks if she thought it would all be so easy. Selena desperately says that everything is not so. He grabs her hand and notices that it no longer hurts. Selena is scared. He asks if this was a game too, and he begins to unwind the bandage. He says he almost believed her when she was kneeling before him, but it all turned out to be just her fantasy. Selena despairingly says she had no ulterior motives. She sincerely wanted his recovery, but Amid turns away and says that he is tired of her tricks. And even if she hadn't begged, he would still have tolerated her joke to the end, after which he would leave the room. Some time later, Selena is embroidering and accidentally pricks her finger with a needle. Rona immediately asks if everything is okay with the lady, and he notices that this week she is completely exhausted, so he asks her to put work aside and rest. Selena replies that everything is fine, but Rona cautiously inquires if something happened that night, since the gentleman is also nowhere to be seen. Selena realizes she hasn't seen Amid for several days. They say he doesn't leave his room and even skips meals, and Selena can't help but worry, while Rona notes that the rumors seem to be true. Selena clarifies what exactly they are talking about, and Rona whispers that they are talking as if the master does not have enough strength for marital affairs. Selena vehemently denies it and asks where it came from, and Rona replies that she just heard it. She remembers passing by the maids discussing it. Selena realizes that Amid knows everything down to the last detail. Rona suggests wearing a new dress, and Selena wonders why. Rona explains that the old outfits are no longer in fashion. Selena understands that clothes show status, and for the wife of a duke, she dresses too modestly. Even Camilla was unhappy with her wardrobe when they first met. Then they took her measurements and hastily sewed several dresses. After all, her role was not to make social appearances, but to give birth to an heir. Rona notices a bag in the closet and asks what it is. Selena replies that these are her things from her arrival, and Rona sighs that they are probably important to the lady. Selena admits that yes, although there is nothing expensive there. Rona says it's too easy for the Everett family, even if there's no way out today. And he adds that the lady would also look good in luxurious outfits. Selena offers to pick out a couple of new dresses, and Rona happily asks if it's true, after which he promises to immediately call a stylist. And he runs away, saying that he will report to Camilla's dressing room. Soon the outfits arrive, and Selena is surprised by their quantity. The woman introduces herself as Paula, the Everett family's chief fashion designer. Selena greets her, and Paula explains that the Duchess ordered that any wish of her daughter-in-law be fulfilled, and Selena understands that Camilla's name means a lot. Paula promises to create the perfect dress, and Selena agrees. Later, she flips through a sketch magazine. They take her measurements, and eventually a new design emerges. Rona admires it, and Selena remarks how convenient it is to see the models on the dolls. Paula is glad that the lady liked it and invites her to the dressing room when the Duke recovers. He says that it is now fashionable to visit her with her husband, and says goodbye. Rona is sure that the gentleman will appreciate the lady in a new dress. Selena doubts he cares. But the more she thinks, the more she worries, because he is already weak. Rona asks in surprise what the lady is doing. Selena gets up and realizes that if this continues, the plan to save Amid will fail, and decides to visit him. At the door, the maid says that the master does not want to see anyone, but Selena asks her to step aside. She realizes that she hasn't come for several days and everything has changed. Emma comes up and repeats that the gentleman doesn't like it. Selena reminds him that she is his wife and cannot be stopped. She demands to move away and asks how many times she needs to repeat it. The maid retreats, warning that it is not her fault if something happens. Selena opens the door. The room is dark and cool. He doesn't answer, and she thinks he's sleeping. She looks at him and is surprised that such a sensitive person did not notice her. She takes off the blanket and says that he is wrapped up like a doll, and I heard that he is also starving. Offers to talk. But seeing his condition, he freezes. She cries out his name and realizes that this was the reason for his seclusion. His body is burning. She calls the servants and demands that they bring a doctor immediately. Amid opens his eyes, and he hears her asking him not to fall into eternal sleep. He just thinks, why she again? In the morning, Selena wakes up leaning against the bed. She notices that it is already dawn. Amid asks how she ended up in his room again, and she is surprised when he woke up. She asks if he is feeling better. He asks with a grin whether she has come to earn the reputation of a caring wife. Selena asks him to stop. He grabs her hand. She gets up. He asks her to wait, but she says they will talk later. And she adds that because of him, she couldn't even move away all night, after which she leaves, slamming the door. In her room, she is indignant and understands why there was a fuss yesterday. Amid only groaned, coming to his senses. She recalls Raymond's words that during such times of crisis he locks himself away. And she understands that she needs to get at least a little sleep. But he notices his bag on the nightstand. He takes it and thinks that Rona probably cleaned it. Inside is my father's watch and my mother's needles and thread. And a contract with Camilla that it's better that no one knows about. The diet and medication were good, but the attacks did not go away. She doesn't understand why the future isn't going according to plan. Without Amid's assistance, nothing will work. And if they have the same goal, she needs to try to get closer to him again. Later, she puts on a new dress, and Rona admires it. Selena notices that the style is different and asks how much it cost. And isn't the neckline too deep? Rona assures that everything is fine and points to the box containing the gift from Paula. Selena is surprised by the gift. Inside is a letter thanking you for your purchase. She admires the craftsmanship and admits that she would not have chosen such a style herself. Rona advises to go to the Duke, because he is in the garden. Selena thinks for a moment. Looking at the doll, she understands that she needs to try to improve the relationship. Soon she goes into the garden and asks if he went out for a walk. He says the weather is wonderful and the wind is light. Amid touches her hair and notices that her face is shining. She thanks him, but he asks why she needs this doll. Selena explains that Paula gave it to her and asks if she is beautiful. Amid smiles and says that the doll is much more beautiful. Selena is embarrassed. and he repeats that the doll is more beautiful. Selena says she came to talk, and he asks if she has anything to say, and she asks him to believe her even if he hates her. Selena says that she really wants to save him, and if he gets better, then she will no longer have to flicker before his eyes. She will simply disappear from his life, just like he wants. She thinks he is bedridden now, but he still remains a nobleman, close to the imperial family and commander of the First Guard. Once he recovers, she will be thrown out of the mansion and he will return to his old life. Amid comes closer and asks what it means to disappear. Selena calmly replies that after his healing, she will become unnecessary and will be able to leave. In her thoughts, she is already dividing the future, paying off debts, helping her brothers and sisters, and upon termination of the contract, she will receive another 500,000 ducats. And he assures that he will meet a worthy girl and create a happy family. The Duke asks if she really expects him to believe her. Selena wonders what's stopping him from doing this, and he replies that no one believes in selfless help. He demands honesty and says she is only interested in compensation. And he asks if she is going to continue the performance. Selena flares up, calls him a scoundrel, and asks if he tried to imagine her life. She asks him to just believe, because he has nothing to lose. But he replies that he will still fall into eternal sleep, so there is no point in trying. Selena objects that this is not true. He simply does not have enough strength. And if the disease were fatal, then... Amid interrupts and asks what poison they are talking about, and she realizes that only she knows about it. She smiles and says that a different approach is needed, and he warns that if things get worse, she will be the one to blame. Selena recalls that after the walks, his face looked healthier, and he began to eat better. He needs to be near her, and suddenly an idea occurs to her. Why does he feel worse when they are apart? She asks who in the estate benefits from his immersion in eternal sleep. Amid is surprised and asks if she thinks someone is trying to eliminate him. Selena replies that this seems true, and he admits that he often thinks about it himself. The father has 5 brothers, and if he dies, the inheritance will go to them or their children. It is not surprising that the mother dreams of an heir. Selena says that he especially needs to understand who can harm him. He replies that the servants try his food first, and now she does too, but the attacks still return. Selena notes that the medications and regimen were normal, and the deterioration happened when she stopped monitoring it. She asks if this is a coincidence, but Amid suggests ending the conversation and not doing anything stupid. And he repeats that he will still plunge into eternal sleep, and Selena only squeezes the doll tighter. In the evening, she lies on the sofa sighing heavily, and Rona asks if she is feeling unwell. Selena thinks he's being too calm about leaving, and it's not an easy decision to make. She wonders how to make him want to live, and Rona holds out a bottle and asks, "How about this?" Selena wonders if it's wine, and Rona assures her that there's no better cure for sadness. And if we drink together, the atmosphere will become warmer, especially since Raymond said that a little alcohol won't hurt. Selena decides to try to melt the ice and comes to the Duke with a bottle. She offers a glass as a sign of reconciliation, but he asks her to stop and leave. Selena insists that since she brought it, let them drink it together. She opens the bottle, pours it, but he refuses, and then she offers to watch him drink it herself. Soon the bottle is almost empty. Amid smiles and remarks that it looks delicious, and she suggests he try it himself. He says that she is already drunk and asks why she came, and she replies that there are sweets here, and points to his face, asking where else one could find such a pastry shop. He says that since they made up, he should leave, and she remarks that the drink is apparently too weak. Selena states that even the commander of the Knights can get drunk sometimes. Amid snatches the bottle, and he drinks it in one gulp, and Selena screams because of her wine. Seeing the drops running down his neck and collarbone, she becomes embarrassed. He asks if she is happy, and she asks for another drink, and she says that now she will give him water herself. But he accidentally spills wine, and realizes that everything didn't go according to plan. Amid gets up and says that she is drunk, and that there is no more wine, so it is time to go back. Selena wonders if that's it, but he throws her a rag to wipe up the spill. She gets angry and calls him petty. He replies that he never promised to be gentle. Selena looks at the last bottle and proposes a bet. He reminds her that he told her to leave and asks what she was up to. She suggests finishing the bottle, and whoever falls first will fulfill the winner's wish. He asks how much she wants, and she gets angry because it's not about the money. She says money is important, but that's too simple. And she admits that she worked hard to earn money so that her brothers and sisters would not suffer. With tears in her eyes, she wonders why she even said that. Amid suddenly apologizes, and she is shocked. He says he didn't know about her difficulties, and promises to be more attentive. Selena smiles and suggests starting with a glass of apology. He asks what he will get if he wins, and she replies that she will leave him alone. She says that he irritates her too, and if he wins, she will stop interfering. She holds out her glass and calls it a fair deal. Amid agrees, and they begin to drink. She spills wine on his pants again and looks at the stain in horror. He apologizes and assures that it was an accident. He asks for a towel and she fusses, continuing to apologize. He says he will wipe everything away and asks not to be angry. He becomes embarrassed by her touches and asks her to stop. But she insists that it should at least be wiped off. He knocks the towel off and demands that they stop. Selena is surprised because she wanted to help. He says that's not the case, and she asks if he hates her that much. She recalls that for 2 years he never really touched her. And in his heart he shouts that he is a eunuch. She immediately closes her mouth, realizing that she had gone too far. She gets up and says that she has a headache and needs to leave. But Amid pins her to the sofa and asks where she is going. And he reminds her that the conversation is not over, and she admits that she said something rude, but not entirely untrue. He leans closer and says that then he will prove otherwise. And kisses her. Selena freezes, unsure how to react. When the kiss ends, he asks if there is enough evidence. She blushes and doesn't believe what's happening, and he thinks that he and Amid really did it. She suddenly grabs his cheek, and he is surprised. And she laughs, looking at his expression. He removes her hand, also embarrassed, and she leans closer, blaming it all on the alcohol. And she kisses him again, and he thinks that perhaps it is the alcohol that makes her so charming. He raises his hand higher, and Selena admits that she is not very experienced, but still offers to continue. A moment later, Amid takes off his shirt and she looks away, embarrassed. Although she had already seen his body more than once. Still blushing, the Duke smiles and asks why she was scared, since they had come so far. And he warns that if there are any doubts, it is better to say so now, otherwise he will not stop later. Selena grabs the blanket and whispers that she doesn't want to be away from him. Amid asks her to remember these words, and he kisses her, confessing that he wants her too. In the morning, Selena wakes up thirsty. She turns her head and sees her husband's shining face, not understanding what happened. The events of the night before the kiss come to mind. She stands up abruptly, deciding to return to her room first and think about it later. In the corridor, Rona asks if the lady has returned, and Selena asks in surprise if she really waited. Rona says she wanted to help with the clothes because the lady looks tired, and Selena thanks her. But he wonders where he can see it, and the maid silently hands him a mirror. Seeing the reflection, Selena is shocked, and Rona laughs, noticing traces of their passion. Selena remembers that she has a meeting with Camilla today and turns pale. She urgently asks for a dress with a high collar, but Rona says that this is a chance to show intimacy, and Selena insists that it is impossible to go out like that. Rona suggests hiding everything with makeup. She puts on makeup and sighs that it's even fashionable now, but Selena doesn't believe that anyone would dare to do that. Rona says the noble ladies were discussing Lady Louise's new trend. Selena remembers that Louise is rich, recently returned from abroad, and is famous for her beauty with scarlet hair and wine-colored eyes. She wonders if this is the same Louise who is connected to high society opium. After all, Madame Louise is considered the head of opium, and Selena wonders if she is hiding her identity. Rona adds that the woman is protected by the Emperor, and the Empress is close to Camilla. Celine remembers that the Empress and Camilla are cousins and feels uneasy. She asks Camilla about the collar, and Selena just smiles. She says she caught a cold because of the changeable weather, and Camilla is surprised because she always boasted about her health. Selena assures him that she won't approach Amid for now, although she is afraid to look him in the eyes, and Camilla reminds him of the upcoming night. Everything must go perfectly, and Selena promises to try her best. And suddenly he realizes that yesterday they didn't use protection, and this is serious. She barely hears Camilla, thinking that the Duke hates this kind of thing. And she will decide that this was her intention. She fears his contempt, but decides to pretend that nothing happened. Opening her eyes, she sees Amid, who says that he has found her. He comes up and offers to talk, and Selena, confused, asks what about. He says directly that it was about last night. In a panic, she screams about the snake, and he turns around. And when she turns back, she is already running away, mentally apologizing but not finding the courage. In the room, Rona offers water and asks if everything is okay. Then he says he can't find something, and Selena is surprised. Rona is looking for the second earring, and Selena realizes that she lost it this morning. Rona reminds her how the lady took care of them, and Selena says it was a birthday present. When she was 15, her father gave her these earrings, saying they suited her name. They became her talisman, but she does not dare to look for Amid in the room. She looks at the engagement ring from Camilla and says that she has this. The ring was required to confirm the marriage, and at first seemed unnecessary. But it quietly became her talisman. Amid sits on the edge of the bed and remembers the morning, wondering why she ran away. Despite the alcohol, he felt like they were sincere. He wonders if there was something else. And suddenly he thinks, could he really be that bad? He lies down and notices a sparkle under his pillow. He picks it up and sees an earring. Meanwhile, Selena peeks around the corner, makes sure he's not there, and goes out. In the room, she sighs, glad that they didn't meet today, since she has been avoiding him for several days. She feels awkward, but lacks the courage to speak, and Rona asks if she has been to Colton. Selena replies that yes, and they finished sorting out the accounting. During this time, she studied Greta's books, and with Coltoon's help, the theft was confirmed. Greta took a little each day, but the amount turned out to be impressive. And no one noticed anything. This speaks of her absolute power. Rona asks if Greta is related to the snake. After Amid's illness, she took more care of the estate, and the appearance of the snake was clearly not an accident. Selena is sure that no one but Greta could have pulled this off, and now there is evidence. They need to act while the influence is weakened, but Rona is unsure how to report the thefts. Selena decides to check Greta's room. If her suspicions are correct, there is something hidden there. She remembers how Rona gave her the key and showed her the right door, and she realizes that she must find evidence. Inside, everything seems simpler than expected. Her gaze stops on the chest under the black fabric. She removes the fabric, thinking that if she finds evidence, everything will be justified. But the chest contains only clothes and books. When she returns, she realizes that she found nothing and may have been mistaken. Lost in thought, she bumps into someone and apologizes. He looks up and sees the Duke. He says the hide-and-seek game was fun and asks why she was there. He takes her hand, apologizes, and asks her not to run away anymore. They sit on the bench and remain silent. Amid is the first to remember that night. Selena calls it an incident and says they were both drunk. They were not themselves, and perhaps he also finds it unpleasant to remember. She suggests forgetting everything, as if nothing happened. He gets up and leaves, and she asks him to wait. He repeats that it is worth forgetting as she wants. He pulls her in, puts something in her hand, and leaves. She looks and sees her earring. In the room, Rona says that everything is ready and asks if the lady will go to her husband. Selena replies that yes, because she neglected it because of work and must fulfill her duty. She enters the Duke's room, wishes him good morning, and remarks on the fine weather. He doesn't pay attention, and she asks if he had a good breakfast. He just coos, without looking up from his book, and says that dinner can be anything. Selena asks to at least take a break from reading. He replies that he is tired and wants to rest, and she clutches her dress. She says she's leaving and wishes him rest. She wonders if her appearance is really that unpleasant to him. And he loudly complains that it is impolite to avoid people like this. Then she remembers that she ran away herself and decides to visit Noir. He calls the cat, but it doesn't come, and this seems strange. She wonders where the cat could have gone, since there is nowhere to run, and suddenly someone addresses her. They turn out to be servants, and one of them asks if everything is okay with her. After some time, Selena watches as the entire mansion searches for the cat, and realizes that she did not expect such a scale. Having gained Greta's authority, she feels that she is treated warmer, and the atmosphere is almost like before. She sighs and says that everything is fine, but someone asks again, what exactly is fine? Selena turns around and is surprised to recognize Amid. He says he heard a noise while he was walking, and she's shocked that he's even walking. He's sarcastic, wondering if he can't live without her. She wants to object but notices the servants, glances, and falls silent. Amid asks what they were looking for, and she replies Noira. He clarifies about the black kitten that ran around wherever it pleased. Selena explains that she put it in the Moonlight Mansion for Amid's health, but the cat disappeared. She apologizes for her inattention and promises to pay better attention in the future. Amid replies that he didn't ask to throw the cat out, and if his health worsens, then they will decide. Selena objects, because she took responsibility for Noir. And Amida is also responsible for his health, so she asks him not to get sick. As he passes by, he throws out that she will leave one day anyway, but the cat will remain, and there are no more snakes. She argues that mice might appear, and he asks in surprise what this means. Selena explains that Noir is afraid of mice and hid from them in the chimney. Amid wearily asks, why care about a cat that doesn't even catch mice? She replies that cats are needed not only for this, but they are valued simply for being there, just like people. To be a wife only for the sake of a child, and a child only for the sake of life, is too cruel. Amid looks at her, and she wonders if she said too much, although she didn't mean anyone in particular. She is about to go look for the cat further, but suddenly, she hears a sound. He turns around and sees that Amid is falling. She runs up in a panic, thinking he's having an attack, and calls him to come to his senses. He sees that he is not writhing in pain, and becomes even more frightened. With tears, she asks him not to fall into eternal sleep. She begs him desperately. Amid opens his eyes, and he smiles, looking at her. He says he didn't expect her to cry real tears and assures her that everything is fine. Selena picks grass and throws it at him, calling him a liar and asking how he could pretend not to be alive. He justifies himself by saying that he didn't think she would believe him, and she shouts that that's not a joke. She could not even imagine such fear. Amid vows not to fall into eternal sleep before her eyes, because she asked for it. He gives his word as a knight, even if they are only in the garden. Amid Ipret will not fall into eternal sleep before her eyes, and this is a moment Selena knows she will never forget. He takes her by the cheek and quietly says her name. Then he stops and says they will talk later. After his strange behavior, she continues to search for the cat, but to no avail. She wonders if Noir has run away and remembers Amid calling her by name. She catches herself, not understanding why she's thinking about it, and hears Rona's voice. Rona happily reports that the cat has been found, and that the master himself found it. Selena runs to Amid and bursts into the room, asking about Noir. She sees scratches on his chest and gets scared, wondering if the cat did it. He says Noir was just scared and scratched him a little, but she insists on treating the wounds. Amid thanks her for worrying about him more than the cat, and she sheepishly admits that she always worries. He asks if she wants to know about Noir and says that he is being washed after the chimney. He checked all the chimneys of the mansion and found the cat right there. Selena is surprised because she thought he didn't like Noir. She thanks him and is happy that she will soon see her pet. With a sincere smile, she says that she is happy that she has him, and Amid looks away and notices that the cat looks different. She is shocked, is it really a different cat, but the maid brings a washed cat. Selena hears a purring sound and doesn't believe it's Noir. Amid notes that the name is strange, since the cat was originally Snow White. Selena is shocked because she thought she was just a little sooty, but it turns out she is completely black with dirt. Hugging her, she says that she missed her and asks why the cat climbed into the chimney again. Amid replies that the reason is simple. She returned through the chimney. The cat escapes from the hands. Amid notices that she wants to show something. Noir scratches at the door and Selena opens it. There are kittens outside the door, and it becomes clear that the chimney was a birthing place. Amid explains that this is the safest place, and Selena realizes that she simply thought the cat had gotten fat. She feels like a bad housewife. The cat touches her with its paw, and Selena doesn't know what to do next. Where should Noir and the kittens go now? Amid sighs and says that the cat can stay in the mansion. She asks if he's serious, and he confirms. She adds with a smile that even if she doesn't catch mice, she will now have something to do. Later, Selena lies on the bed and thinks about how to thank him. He saved Noir and let her stay, and she had to say thank you. She wants to give a gift from the heart, but doesn't know what kind. There are plenty of jewels, but he doesn't need anything. Rona offers to embroider a scarf, but Selena refuses, and she is surprised. Selena believes that such things are given as gifts when there is special intimacy, so something different is needed. Her gaze catches on the idea, and the next morning Rona yawns, surprised that the lady went herself. Selena replies that it's more convenient this way, and it's good that she can go with Jean. Rona says that if the lady prepares the dish herself, the gentleman will be touched. Selena admits that the idea came by chance from Jean's cookbook. But now she is happy with the decision, because it is also about caring for Amid's health. Rona asks what it will be, maybe meat with love. Selena smiles and says that this is an expensive fish. Getting out of the carriage, she thanks Jean, and he wishes her luck. Rona notices that the auction is starting. Fresh yellowtail and flounder are announced to the crowd. Rona pushes forward and asks what kind of fish they are looking for. Selena waits and suddenly sees the right box, screaming with joy. This is the legendary Selim fish. It is considered blessed by the sea god and useful for ailments, so the price can skyrocket. Selena understands that she wouldn't have gotten here without Jean. But for the sake of Amid, she is ready to get the Selim at any cost. The starting price is announced as 100 ducats. The stakes quickly reach 200. Rona asks if she should participate, but Selena tells her to wait. The price rises to 400, and the seller invites new participants. The person who placed the bet thinks he has won, but Selena raises her card and offers 600 ducats. The audience is shocked, and the seller asks if there are more. The hammer strikes, and the Selim is sold to them for 600 ducats. Rona carries the fish. Jean is amazed by their purchase. Selena is happy that she got it for less than she expected, and realizes that it's now easier to manage her budget. Selena thinks Camilla agreed easily, since the ingredients were for Amid. But looking at the Selim, she notices that the fish is a bit small, and asks if it's enough for the dish, to which the chef is surprised by her doubts. He assures that the taste of this fish is unique and delicious, and he vouches for the result. Suddenly, Selena bumps into someone and immediately apologizes. The stranger gently replies that it is she who should ask for forgiveness. Selena notices grace in her and wonders if she is from a noble family. A woman's pendant falls. Selena picks it up and asks if it's hers. The blonde thanks her with a smile and leaves, and Selena is amazed at her beauty. Later, Rona asks if the lady will really cook everything herself, and Selena confirms. She says that she and Jean spent the whole night studying the recipe, and Rona notices cuts on her hands. Selena laughs that she hasn't even cooked vegetables for a long time, and these are just scratches. She is grateful to Jean for his help with the recipe, and for the Selim, it is a real relief. Selena sincerely thanks Jean, and he modestly replies that it's nothing. She decides to start and reaches for the fish, saying that the Selim comes first. But the fish suddenly disappears before her eyes, and Selena is shocked and doesn't understand what happened. Turning around, she sees Noir with a fish in his teeth. The cat runs away, and Selena screams that this is rare and asks her to stop. She runs after him, promising to give him something tastier because it is too valuable. Suddenly someone catches a cat. It's Amid, and he calmly asks what's going on. He is surprised that it is so difficult to catch one cat, and Selena is indignant at how long she has been running after her. But she is still glad that he was nearby, otherwise she would have had to run around the entire mansion. Amid notices that her hands are out of order again, and she just shrugs. He asks if this is what she was looking for, and Selena admits that the thing is valuable, even though it is now damaged. The cat drops the fish on the ground. Selena looks at the Selim in horror, realizing that everything is lost. Later, Amid sits at the table and asks what is in front of him. Selena replies that these are dishes that she prepared herself. She explains that she wanted to serve fish, but after what happened she changed the menu. He says that Jean helped, so the taste should be decent. Amid looks at the plates, and Selena lists the eggplants, broccoli, and tomatoes. He asks if this is a bribe, and she gets angry that it is gratitude for helping with Noir. Amid takes a fork and tries one of the dishes. Selena gets flustered, and he declares that he hates eggplant, and she mentally calls him unbearable. But he raises his glass and says he's grateful for her efforts, and Selena is surprised. Later, over tea, she notices how elegant he looks, even in simple movements. His hands seem beautiful and strong to her because they hold a sword. Amid asks what she is looking at, and she shyly replies that she is looking at nothing. He notices her staring, and she realizes it's too obvious. She admits that she was just looking at his hands, but she doesn't dare say that she likes them. To change the subject, she asks why he doesn't wear a ring, since she never takes off hers. He doesn't understand what the problem is, and she says that he is the only one pretending to be free. Amid replies that if she doesn't like it, she can take hers off, but Selena is categorically against it. He asks if it's because of his mother, and she searches for words. Selena admits that she felt good when he wore the ring, as if she really was his wife. After all, the ring symbolizes the connection between two people, and she suddenly realizes how far she has come. They're not that close, and she tries to soften her words, but Amid asks if it really matters. With a slight blush, he says that he will put the ring on then. And he asks if this is enough gratitude for the dinner, and Selena becomes embarrassed. He actually puts the ring on, and she can't hide her embarrassment. She says it suits him, and then reminds him of the argument and the desire of the winner. They did agree on this. Amid asks if the bet is still on, and Selena nods confidently. He asks what she wants, and she smiles. And he invites her to go on a date, and soon they are already in the city. She asks if it's true he's never been on a date, and he asks the same about her. Selena recalls that before she didn't have time for relationships, she was earning money. But she says out loud that, of course, she had relationships. Amid asks if they are healthy, and she replies that there have been different ones. He wants details, but she changes the subject and suggests going to a pastry shop. Amid just smiles and follows. Selena admires the display case. The sweets look incredibly beautiful. The choice of cakes is huge, and she doesn't know what to choose. She turns to Amid, but he orders everything from the display case, which shocks the saleswoman. Selena is surprised because he doesn't like sweets, but he replies that it's easier this way. She tries to object, but he sends her to the table. Selena notices the looks people give her and feels like they stand out too much. At the table, Amid says that everyone came to eat cake, so there is nothing to worry about. She agrees that he is right, but she admits that she would like everything to be simpler. A mountain of cakes is brought to them and carefully laid out on the table. Selena admires the gold powder on one of them and wonders where to start. She says these are the best cakes, but Amid remarks that it's just flour. She retorts that then he, too, is just flesh and blood, but he mentally adds that he is very attractive, flesh and blood. Amedia brings a piece to her lips, and she is surprised. He says she liked it, and she wonders if she seemed too greedy. She licks the cream from her lips. Seeing his reaction, she asks what happened, but he brushes it off. Selena wonders if he's in pain because he's acting strange. She says that he doesn't have to try for her against his will. Amid replies that she feels like a criminal who has been released, and she doesn't understand why. He admits that he hasn't had this much fun in a long time and asks not to ask stupid questions. Selena understands that he rarely went out into the city, but inside she is gnawed by doubt. Had he ever dated before since Camilla had spoken of his childhood engagement? Amid notices her strange expression, and she pretends that everything is fine. He says she's lost in thought again, and she's surprised it's so noticeable. Amid reminds that the date is not over yet. He holds out his hand and she takes it, walking out into the street with him. Selena remembers Veronica after a tea party with the aristocrats. In the novel, she was the main character and was once engaged to Amid. But in the story, the crown prince is more important, and the book is written from Veronica's point of view. Amid asks what she is thinking about, and she replies that she is thinking about nothing. He notices her absent-mindedness, but she brushes it off. She understands that Veronica is from the influential family of the Marquis of Lotrange, and he involuntarily wonders if there was something real between them. Selena asks permission to ask a question, and he wonders why she needs permission. She asks cautiously if he was engaged. Amid stops and asks how she knows, and she talks about Camilla's words. He explains that it was an agreement between adults before they reached adulthood. But Selena reminds that they were going to get married. The Duke asks what exactly interests her, and Selena is at a loss, admitting that she has heard about Veronica's incredible beauty and that nothing is impossible for her. Everyone praised her so much that Selena became curious about what she was really like. Amid smiles and says that he doesn't remember anything, and Selena is surprised because they almost got married. He calmly repeats that he doesn't remember and asks if she said she learned it from her mother. Before the ceremony, he lost consciousness, and Marquis de L'Autrange asked to pretend that the engagement had not happened since it was impossible to wait due to his illness. Ahmed Amenedes interrupts her and asks her directly if she wants to know what his relationship with Veronica was like. Selena shyly waves it off, saying that it's just curiosity, and adds that Veronica will soon return from the kingdom of Lilios. Amid repeats that Veronica has returned home, and Selena wonders if he is remembering their shared past. Suddenly he touches her cheek and says that he wants to see how her face changes colors, and she gets indignant and asks him not to touch her. He asks why she even cares about Veronica if they haven't even met, and Selena insists she's just curious. The engagement would have remained if he had been healthy, because then he would not have had to marry the girl chosen by his mother. Selena remembers how after their fake night, his gaze became cold, and it hurt her every time. Now she thinks she understands the reason. Her presence was causing him pain because he couldn't live the way he wanted. She says that even without Veronica, he could have met a girl he would have loved. Emid is about to say something, but she interrupts him. Selena assures him that if he gets better, everything will be fine, and asks if he will remain as submissive. He smiles and remarks that she has not given up on her goal, and she replies that she always keeps her word. She asks him to let go of his doubts, because she is sure that she can cure him, and meanwhile, he looks at her earrings. Amid says they suit her and match her name, which means moon goddess, and Selena remembers her mother's dream of the moon rising from the sea. In that dream, my mother covered the shining moon with the hem of her dress. Selena admits that the name seems too loud to her, and Amid asks if it is a gift. She replies that yes, from an important person, and he asks who it is. Seeing his frown, she jokes that it was a man, and Amid sharply asks who exactly. Selena laughs and asks what he was imagining. She explains that the earrings were a gift from her father, and that they are very dear to her. Her father soon fell into eternal sleep after the gift, and she is grateful to Amid for finding the earring. Later they approach the store, and Amid says that the date should end in a special way. He offers to choose a keepsake, and Selena is surprised by his suddenness. Not knowing what to say, she asks for a hair clip, thinking that one will be enough. Immediately pulls her along with him, saying that then they should go to the jeweler, and she is surprised by his determination. He leads her to the shop, and she wonders if all this was really for one hairpin. Selena notices how tightly he holds her hand, and she suddenly feels good about it. At the jewelry store, she is amazed by the prices and the feeling of luxury. She mentally counts the zeros, and Amid asks what she is doing. They go inside, and the worker asks what they want. Recognizing the Duke of Uprit, he is amazed and glad to meet him. He assumes that Amid has come with his beloved and introduces himself. Amid calmly declares that this is not his lover, but his wife, and the seller is even more shocked. He makes excuses that he hasn't heard anything about the wedding, and Amid asks if it's strange to be married. Selena thinks that rumors will quickly reach Camilla, because such shops are frequented by noble families. She wants to leave, but Amid asks how she likes one of the hairpins. He points to the moon-shaped stone pin, the very one she was looking at. Selena notes that the price is too high, but the seller assures her that the selection is perfect. He suggests that Amid secure it himself, but Selena shyly refuses. Amid asks her to stand still so as not to get hurt, and she is struck by his gentleness. He fastens the hairpin and says that it suits her, but she gets embarrassed. At home, Rona admires the gift, saying that it has a soul. Selena calls it simple, but Rona is sure that an expensive thing means sincerity. Lying on the bed, Selena realizes that their marriage is still a contract, and it is difficult to rejoice. But remembering their hands, she still wants a little happiness. There's a knock at the door. The maid informs that the senior mistress invites her to tea in the southern garden. Selena is surprised by the sudden invitation, but agrees. She asks Rona to help with the outfit. Unaware of Camilla's plans, Selena chooses a luxurious look and heads to the garden. One of the ladies greets her as the Duke's wife. The woman says that she missed her and is glad to see her. Selena thanks her and sits down. Another notes how everyone wanted to see the Duke's wife, and Selena notices influential socialite ladies around. She doesn't understand what Camilla is up to. One of the women asks about the hairpin, and Selena realizes that the rumors have already spread. The ladies discuss how the Duke personally took his wife to the jeweler and wanted to see her. Selena realizes that she was not invited by chance. Rumors spread instantly, and Camilla could hardly refuse such an opportunity. One of the women says that the Duke seems to be madly in love with his wife. Another adds that his rare walks speak volumes. Some people call it romance, because it's like he's hiding his one and only. The story of the sickly but handsome Duke sounds like a fairy tale, The ladies ask if this is true, and Selena thinks about the unfair contract and the fears she experienced. She even remembers the snake in the room, but only smiles shyly. Selena touches the hairpin and wonders what Amid was thinking. Was he glad to take a walk after a long period of confinement? One of the women notices her blush, but Selena assures her that everything is fine. The ladies notice the empty chair and assume it is a spare. Camilla says the chair is for a surprise guest. Selena feels eyes on her and realizes that Camilla is watching her. She tries to remain calm because she has been in similar situations before. One of the ladies asks if there is another guest, and someone approaches them. The girl apologizes for being late, and Selena looks at her in shock. Camilla happily greets Veronica and asks where she is going. Veronica replies that she arrived safely, and Selena recognizes her as the woman from the market. She is amazed at how close Veronica is to the Duchess. Camilla says that Veronica has become even more beautiful. Veronica hugs her warmly, telling her how much she missed her. Selena watches their laughter and feels a chill as Camille formally introduces Veronica Lotrange. The ladies are surprised by her early return. Veronica explains that her father's schedule has changed and thanks Camilla for the invitation. Selena realizes that Camilla has never been so warm with her. Camilla invites Veronica to sit on the prepared chair. But the chair hits Selena's chair. Everyone pays attention, and Camilla asks what happened. Selena quietly moves away, realizing it's better not to escalate the situation. The ladies are interested in the health of the Marquis de Lotrange. Veronica replies with a smile that everything is fine and their families were close. Selena feels awkward and wants to leave. Veronica greets her personally and introduces herself. She says she is glad to meet Amid's wife, and Selena notices how easily she calls him by his first name. This sounds too close. Veronica apologizes, explaining that they have known each other since childhood, and Camilla says that this is normal. Selena realizes that Camilla deliberately didn't introduce them properly. Camilla is interested in Veronica's life abroad. The ladies note that the Queen of Lilos took special care of her, and Veronica confirms this. Veronica says that the Emperor has difficulty communicating because of the language barrier, but she speaks his native language, so he often invites her to his place. One of the ladies wonders if the Queen of Lilos is really from Hayden, as their language is incredibly difficult, but Miss Lotrange can handle it. Veronica modestly replies that she is happy to help, and the woman notes that the embassy does not yet have a successor, and the return could be hasty. Another one cautiously asks if this is connected with a possible war. Someone immediately pulls her up, saying, "Why all this talk about war?" But the blonde notes that relations between the Empire and Lilos have been tense lately. Selena recalls that the countries used to fight frequently, then they signed a truce, but in recent years the conflicts have become more frequent again. One of the ladies says that in Lilos, they have completely forgotten fear, because there are still Knights of the Sun in the Empire. Another reminds that the commander's position is currently vacant, but Camilla assures that she has already been to the palace and made a request to the Emperor. She asked that Duke Ypret be relieved of his post as commander, and that a vice commander be appointed since the post could not remain empty. When asked if Amid will be okay, Camilla replies that it is for the greater good, as knights must be willing to sacrifice themselves. Selena stands up silently, and one of the women asks in surprise what happened. She briefly says that she has urgent business and rushes into her husband's room, shouting his name. But the room is empty, and Selena remembers that he has been ill for 5 years. If he is fired now, he will lose not only his post, but also the chance to return to the Order of the Sun. And all this because of an illness with an unknown cause. Looking out the window, she sees Amid training, and he wonders if such a fate will suit him. He tries to catch his breath, exhausted, and Selena remembers that this hall has been a second home for him since childhood. He used to train here every day, but after his illness the gym was empty, and only today did he come here again. Selena wants to come closer, but she can't, she's too worried. He looks so vulnerable, like he's about to break, and she comes back into the room, knowing that this will be an incurable wound for him. She is at a loss, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, she feels dizzy, and later at dinner, the chef happily introduces the new menu. He added a special sauce and hopes she will like it, but Jean is worried because they both have no appetite lately. He says he would like to see them at the table together again. Selena realizes that she hasn't seen Amid for a week, although she was about to knock on his door several times, but each time she doubted whether her consolation would change anything. Jean suggests trying a rainbow trout dish, tasty and nutritious, but Selena suddenly closes her mouth, and Rona anxiously asks if everything is okay. Selena says she's bothered by the smell. Rona asks Jean to cover the dish with a lid, and he does so immediately. The maid assures that it's just a reaction to the smell, it will get better soon, and the cook apologizes. Selena asks him not to blame himself, but he asks if it's because of the fish. She replies that she recently went to the market without any problems, so it's not about the fish, but about her health. After rest, she feels better, but lately, this has been happening often. She admits that about a week ago, even her favorite foods began to make her feel disgusted. Jean says that these seem like familiar symptoms, and Selena is worried that she might have contracted something. He gently replies that it is not an illness, but perhaps pregnancy. He explains that the symptoms are similar to toxicosis, when even your favorite food won't go into your mouth. Selena is shocked and thinks how this could happen. And he remembers that night, realizing that anything could have happened then. Rona happily congratulates him and goes to fetch the doctor. But Selena asks to wait and keep everything a secret for now. She wants to make sure first because the situation is too sensitive. Jean and Rona exchange glances, and Selena asks to put the food away. She is left alone with the thought that there might be a child inside her. And he wonders how Amid will react to this. She thinks he will just smile coldly and say that she has achieved her goal, because the child will strengthen her position, but Camilla will still not back down. And yet, if there is a child, she will protect him at any cost. Later, Rona brushes her hair and asks if she has decided, and Selena replies that she has. She is going to tell everything today, and has been thinking all day about when it would be best to talk to Camilla. At first, she wanted to call Raymond, but she realizes that Camilla will find out anyway, so she decides to say it first. Approaching the door, she prepares to knock and calms herself down, but he hears Camilla's voice asking if she did the right thing, and Raymond replies that Amid didn't know about the dismissal yet. He says that the Duchess did the right thing, otherwise the Emperor himself would have fired him. Camilla remembers with a shudder how he only smiled, as if powerless before fate. Selena realizes that Amid already knew about the dismissal, and he went for a walk with her anyway. Camilla admits she's scared. She says that if he finds out about the hereditary disease, everything will get even worse. Raymond tries to calm her down, saying that there is still time. Camilla recalls that all those who inherited the disease fell into an eternal sleep. Her uncle and brother suffered from convulsions and fever before falling into eternal sleep, and the disease is incurable. With shaking hands, she says that they urgently need an heir. The only hope is Amida's child. Selena quietly returns to her home. She understands that he got the disease from Camilla. And his words about the inevitable immersion into eternal sleep were not weakness, but knowledge of the truth. So everything she did seemed pointless to him. He didn't share this with her, which means he didn't consider her a real family. She remembers the novel and thinks that there he also plunged into eternal sleep without an heir. And if history repeats itself, Camilla will not forgive her. Selena bursts into the Duke's room, and he is surprised by her appearance. He asks what happened because there are tears in her eyes. She runs up and hugs him tightly. She begs him not to fall into eternal sleep because she cannot bear it. He is confused and asks her to calm down. A moment later, Selena becomes embarrassed, realizing how suddenly she burst in. She feels like a child who bursts into tears without explanation. She says that's enough, but the maid enters the room. She says it's time to take the medicine. Seeing their closeness, the maid becomes embarrassed, and Selena quickly moves away and says that she was just leaving. She says goodbye, promising to see each other tomorrow. Amid silently watches her go, and she sighs heavily in the corridor. She understands that she cannot admit what she overheard and therefore is unable to console him. And he wonders whether the news of a possible pregnancy will give him strength. Suddenly she notices snakeskin on the floor and looks around anxiously, because the servant said that all the snakes had been caught. The thought of another snake scares her, and she decides to report it. At this moment, the cat brings another snakeskin and meows. Selena is scared at first, but then smiles with relief. Seeing a cat chewing its skin helps it understand where it all comes from. Her gaze falls on the half-open door of the room. Inside, the maid is tied up, and Selena orders a thorough search of everything. Emma is outraged by this intrusion. The butler asks what they are looking for, and Selena replies that they will soon see everything for themselves. The servant reports a locked chest. The maid tries to object, but Selena orders her to open it. The lock is broken, and the lid rises. Inside is Amid's shirt, an empty bottle of perfume, and a comb with his hair. Selena turns to the maid, but she looks away, and another maid reports the discovery. Selena realizes that these are the same snakes that were in her room. Soon, Mrs. Camilla appears and coldly asks if it is true that all these things were found in that particular room. She looks at the maid and demands an explanation as to why she ended up with Amid's things, and she replies that the master gave them to her in gratitude for her care. Camilla gets angry and says that the girl has already crossed all boundaries, and such words only cause disgust. She adds that the maid looked at her son with a shameless gaze every day, and she, in despair, asks how she is worse than this woman. Pointing to Selena, she states that she only came to give birth to the child. And turning to Camilla, he says that she too could give birth to the master's child. Camilla winces in disgust and calls her crazy. The head maid slaps the girl and yells at her for what she's doing. She accuses her of trying to harm the lady and asks if she has completely lost her mind. Camilla orders that it stop and orders that the girl be flogged, thrown out of the estate, and that all things be burned and everything she touched be destroyed. Emma tearfully begs for forgiveness, assuring him that she did not mean to harm the master, but Camilla coldly remarks that she should be glad that she will not be hanged. Selena feels sick, and memories of the execution from the past appear before her eyes. Camilla notices her condition and asks what happened. Selena quietly says that she has recently been experiencing headaches and nausea. Camilla asks with a happy smile if this is what she thinks it is, but Selena replies that she is not sure yet. Emma cries out that this cannot be, but Camilla scornfully orders them to take her out quickly. The maids take the girl away, the door closes, and her scream stops. Camilla orders the butler to bring Raymond immediately, but he says that the doctor has just left. Camilla demands to catch up with him, even in a carriage, and bring him back. She then asks Selena why she was silent, and Selena replies that she wasn't sure, but Camilla is sure that with the symptoms there can be no doubt. At this moment, the Duke enters and asks what is going on, and Camilla says with emphasis that it looks like his heir will be born. Amid says that he heard something, and Camilla enthusiastically repeats that it was about a child. Selena looks at him anxiously, wondering if this news irritates him. Amid asks if the mother is sure, and she replies that the astrologer predicted the appearance of the heir's star. He again asks not to believe the astrologer, but Camilla insists that these are not empty words, and she herself had a good dream. Amid is surprised at what a dream. Camilla talks about the moon falling into her dress, and Selena is shocked because her mother had the same dream. The butler enters with Dr. Raymond. The doctor examines Selena and admits that he cannot yet give a definitive answer. He asks to clarify when the last time they were intimate. Selena exchanges glances with Amid, unsure whether to respond. Amid gets embarrassed and says that it's a personal matter. What difference does it make when they sleep? The doctor explains that without this, it is impossible to determine the possible date of conception. Camilla also demands an answer, but Amid sharply remarks that there is nothing excessive about intimacy with one's own wife. He adds that they are now in a period of passion. The maids whisper to each other, and Selena is embarrassed because it sounds like they are inseparable. Camilla asks if it is possible to find out the truth now, but the doctor insists on a specific date. Amid says it was 2 weeks ago, but the doctor replies that it is still too early to confirm. Camilla mentions nausea, but the doctor explains that it could be gastritis or stress. He asks to wait at least a week for a definitive answer. Camilla agrees, and everyone leaves, leaving the two of them alone. Selena asks Amid to wait. She needs to say something. She admits that she was afraid at the time that he would think that she had deliberately seduced him. But he says he understood it anyway. He adds that having a child from a husband is natural, and there is no problem with that. Selena clutches the dress and asks him how he feels. Does the thought of her pregnancy really bother him? Amid bites his lip and quietly says that he doesn't know how long he will be able to be near the child. He doesn't even know what will happen tomorrow. Selena jumps up and asks why he is saying this. He pushes her hand away, and she repeats that one day she will still fall into eternal sleep, and she needs to rest. Selena is left alone and does not know whether he is cursing her or suffering. Amid thinks she should hate him for his weakness. He doesn't want to give her false hope. In the corridor, the doctor tries to calm Camilla down. He says the pregnancy hasn't been confirmed yet, but Camilla is confident it will be an heir. She coldly remarks that after giving birth, Selena will no longer be needed. And he asks if everything is ready to send the girl to Matisse. Camilla says that all you need is a doctor's note, and then hospitalization won't be a problem. Amid understands that Metis is a mental hospital from which it is almost impossible to escape. Camilla orders Melvin to prepare the documents. If Selena is found to be insane, it will be grounds for divorce. Amid clenches his fists and leaves. Later he calls the butler, and he orders Melvin to be invited for tomorrow. The next day he meets with the family lawyer, Melvin, who inquires about his health. Amid notes that previously all issues were discussed through his mother. Melvin confirms that Camilla made legal commitments, but Amid clarifies which ones exactly. He hints at a matter concerning his wife. Melvin looks away, and Amid realizes he is bound by a secret. The lawyer says he keeps his clients' secrets until he falls into eternal sleep. Then Amid asks to be frank, and says that he wants to provide Selena with a decent life after he plunges into eternal sleep. He intends to change the will, and Melvin is shocked. After all, he never touched it for 5 years. Amid confirms that he wants to add a clause about Selena. He asks if the divorce will be automatic if she is declared insane and how much money she will receive for the child. Melvin is confused, but Amid tells him to just write it down. He dictates that if he is put into eternal sleep, Selena will receive 10 billion ducats. The lawyer is amazed by the amount. Amid adds the southern lands of the Ypres to her domain, and includes her in the list of family heirs with special conditions. He turns to Melvin again, and dictates that even after he plunges into eternal sleep, Selena will be completely protected. This is a provision for her safety. He says that she will be able to protect the child, but she herself will remain vulnerable. He entrusts Melvin with her safety, and orders him to keep everything secret until his last breath. Even from Mother. As he leaves, Melvin wonders what he's gotten himself into, but realizes that this is the winner's will. Selena realizes she has a week to get a definitive answer, and now everything in the house revolves around her. She feels pressured, and as if she is under constant surveillance. When a guest is announced, she is surprised who has come. Veronica enters the room and greets the Duchess. Selena is surprised by the visit, and Veronica says that she wanted to greet her personally. Their first meeting was awkward, and the Duchess ordered that this be rectified. Selena asks what exactly they asked her for. Veronica calmly replies that she was told to make Selena feel uncomfortable. But she adds that she has no intentions regarding the Duke of Ypres. Selena asks if it's because of Amid's illness. Veronica replies that no one wants to be alone in marriage, and Selena angrily states that Amid will not fall into eternal sleep, to which Veronica, with a slight smile, says that she is sorry to hear such words. Veronica says the Dukes of Ypres aren't as powerful as they used to be. Selena wonders how she couldn't have known about this. The clan's sole leader is ill, and it would be strange to expect his former influence to return. Even within Lady Crown's clan, the situation is worsening due to the weak Duke. Veronica remarks that Selena must have been busy, but a real Duchess is supposed to be able to handle such things. It's clear from her look that she doesn't know a lot, and that's why Veronica came to give advice. Selena asks why she needs advice, and Veronica gently replies that she likes Selena, and after many years abroad, she felt lonely. She suggests they become friends, and Selena remembers that in the previous version of the story, everything was the other way around. Now everything is different, and she doesn't understand if fate has changed because she is no longer the same Selena. And if so, can she change Amid's fate? Veronica talks about a possible war with Lilo, and that the Empire will need knights, and then the question of a leader will arise. Amid's illness is undermining the family's influence, and the Duchess may take drastic steps. Selena hints that she could allow Veronica to become a daughter-in-law, but she calmly replies that this will not happen. Although she admits that she would like to marry into a good family, she then looks at her watch and says that time flies too quickly. She hopes that she helped Selena, and she understands that Camilla can get rid of her regardless of the child. Her goal now is to leave here before Camilla achieves her goal. But Selena doesn't understand Veronica's true purpose. After all, in the future she will become an empress, so why does she need all this? Perhaps she wants to bring her face to face with Camilla. Later, Camilla says that she heard about Amid's meeting with Melbourne and demands an explanation. Amid replies that if she is so interested, she should ask herself, and she hints that he is especially sensitive to his wife because of her pregnancy. Camilla adds that she is also worried. Amid asks her directly if she plans to get rid of his wife after she gives birth, and she pretends not to understand. He says it won't be an exile, but a prison, to make it easier to control her. He had long understood his mother's intentions, because a strong daughter-in-law is dangerous. Camilla chose a convenient strategy, because Selena is capable of fighting back. Camilla admits that she doesn't want to become a helpless old woman, but if his health were good, she wouldn't have to act like this. If he had married Veronica and had an heir, she would have lived out her old age in peace. But this is not the case, and she is left to prepare for the worst. And Amid says that everything will be decided in a week. Camilla agrees to wait. A week later, the doctor examines Selena and is ready to announce the result. The Duchess is already confident of the appearance of an heir, but the doctor says there is no pregnancy. Camilla is shocked, but Selena feels relieved and decides to focus on the divorce. She thinks that Amid may not have wanted a child. Seeing his face, she is surprised, and he leaves silently. In the evening, she comes to him and sees him standing by the window. She wonders if he noticed her and what he is looking at so intently. He asks when she came in, and she replies that she just did, noticing the object in his hand. He says it's nothing special, but she asks to see it. The more he hides, the more suspicious it looks, and he sighs heavily. When handing over the item, he asks you to be careful. Selena sees the blue sheath and realizes it is a knife, even though it seemed very small in his hands. Amid Menace explains that this is his father's first sword, the one he trained with. She realizes he's kept it his whole life and apologizes for being harsh, but he says it's okay. She remarks that he would like to pass this sword on to their child. He is surprised by her words, and she believes that it was he who was waiting for this child most of all. After all, he is confident of his immersion in eternal sleep, and she decides to be honest. Then she turns away, saying she has nothing more to add. Suddenly she trips over the hem of her dress, but Amid manages to catch her. He asks if everything is okay, and she thanks him. He asks her to be careful in case she gets hurt. She replies that the fall is not scary, because she is not pregnant, and he is surprised by her words. She adds that he is lucky, because the child could have been born to the woman he truly loves. And in her thoughts, this woman could be Veronica. She tells him not to worry, he will definitely have a child. When he gets better and they get divorced, he will be able to marry for love. Amid notices how easy it is for her to talk about his recovery and divorce. He says that a knight does not break his oaths, and even if their marriage is arranged, she is his wife and he is her husband. But divorce may be the best option for her. He wants a divorce before he goes into eternal sleep, and Selena is shocked by his directness. She replies that such words hurt her. She doesn't like the way he talks about his life and asks him to get treatment if he is sick. He says the disease is incurable and she can only accept it, but she desperately asks why. Is it because of a hereditary disease on the mother's side? He is shocked, and she admits that she accidentally overheard the conversation with Raymond. Over the course of a week, she read many books in search of an answer. But I still haven't found an exact description of the disease. She can't pretend she doesn't know anything and asks him to be frank. She asks to tell about a disease that is transmitted through the maternal line. He says it is an incurable disease from which his uncles died of high fever and seizures. She asks what the reason is. He replies that it is a blood issue and that it cannot be treated. She counters that resignation only makes things worse. She extends her hand to him and invites him to fight together. He pushes her away abruptly and she is shocked. He realizes his gesture and tells her that she shouldn't waste her energy on the impossible. She coldly replies that she understands everything. She apologizes for the late visit and wishes him goodnight, but he asks him to wait, and she thinks she was stupid to expect frankness. She decides to figure it out herself, no matter what. He asks where she is going, and she replies that she is going to her room and asks him to move away. She says she's going to visit her siblings and get her things. He offers to go together, and she is amazed. He insists that he will go with her unless there is a good reason to refuse. She demands to know the reason why he should stay, and she admits that her relatives do not know about her marriage. The next day, she goes alone, having managed to convince him to stay. His reaction was painful, but she can't understand how much. She arrives at Baron Rudin's estate. Her brothers and sisters greet her joyfully, and she asks if everything is okay with them. They were bored, but she brought sweets and invited them to eat together. Another woman appears and greets her. She thanks them for the financial assistance and hints that she is willing to continue caring for the children for a fee. Selina understands that she must insist because the children are still young. There are 5 of them, except for 18-year-old Edgar, who lives separately, and they all need care. Elda agrees to work on them if she receives a decent amount of money. Selina would like to raise them herself, but for now, this is not possible. Elda complains about expenses and repairs, again hinting at money, and invites them to discuss the details. Along the way, Selina quietly tells Lilin to immediately report if her aunt offends her or starves her. She only asks to wait until Edgar finishes school and promises to find them a house, and her sister asks how she will cope alone. At times like these, Selina hopes she can make some quick money and handle everything herself. She assures that no one needs to worry, she will take care of everything. After a while, they are already sitting at the table, eating cookies and pie. Elda carefully examines the young lady's dress and jewelry. She says that last time she doubted it, but kept quiet. And now he asks directly whether her departures are connected with some dark deeds, and Selina does not understand what this means. Elda notices that the carriage has become better, and the dress looks expensive. Her skin and hair are well groomed, and she quips that you can't fool her. Selina thinks that even the most modest carriage seems like luxury to Elda, because she herself has never had anything like that. Baron Rudin's family are nobles without access to the palace, and after the dissolution of Selina's family, their situation became dire. It offends her that these words are said in front of her brothers and sisters, as if her beauty is a reason for insults. But Elda continues, hinting that she has a wealthy man, and that she is just someone's kept woman. At that moment, a voice is heard condemning her words, and Selina recognizes it. It's Amid. He calmly says the door was open, and asks if that should be considered a violation. He adds that he is also a member of the family, and Selina asks him to wait. But he comes closer and says that he introduced himself too late. He claims to be the husband of Selina, Amid Upret. Elda asks in horror if he is really that same duke. Amid looks at Selina and asks why she is still standing aside. She is in shock, because no one knew about her marriage. He replies that she didn't ask him to pretend to be single, and misunderstandings arise from omissions, and Selina understands that all this is because of his mother's words. Elda suddenly announces that Selina, the duke's beloved wife, is coming out. Amid coldly confirms this. He again emphasizes that Selina is his wife and asks her to refrain from insults. Elda is confused and doesn't understand how this is possible. The butler intervenes and reminds her that the Duchess of Ypres is standing before her. The woman immediately bends down and already respectfully greets their lordships. Amid thanks her with a smile for caring for Selina's relatives. But he says that now the servants and nannies will live here and look after the children themselves. They will no longer be bothered with questions about care. And he adds that his people will maintain order, hoping for her prudence. Elda seeks support from Selina, but she turns away, and the butler offers to take the woman to rest. As they leave, one of the sisters addresses the Duke. She asks if he is really their sister's husband, and Selina gets nervous. Amid calmly confirms, and the children look at him with delight. He becomes embarrassed, and one of the brothers asks if he really is a duke. The sister admiringly remarks that this is the highest title. Selina pulls herself together and begins to introduce her brothers and sisters. Lilin, 15 years old, greets him. Then Melia and Tina, both 12, and younger brother Austin, 5. The boy reaches out to the Duke. Amid picks Austin up, and Selina worries that he'll get scared. But looking at them together, she is surprised at how natural it looks. Lilin asks if Selina is really married and why she hid it. She promises to tell later. It's hard for her to talk about it now, and she asks to keep everything a secret, and her sister promises to wait. Selena smiles as she looks at Amid with the children and decides to tell everything when the time comes. Later they come back. Amid offers her his hand, but she says she can handle it herself. However, he still supports her and explains that she did not take his hand. He intertwines their fingers and suggests that they go like this. Selena is surprised by his changes, and he apologizes for his rudeness yesterday. She replies that she understands, but still forgives him. And she thanks him for coming and supporting her. She smiles and thanks him sincerely. He gets embarrassed and says that she can visit her family at any time. He gives permission despite his mother's opinion, but he asks to return before dark and take bodyguards. She agrees, although she does not intend to participate in the battles. And suddenly she realizes that before she didn't understand other people's feelings, and now she doesn't even understand her own. The seasons change, and it's as if something changes in between. Later she reads books about diseases, but does not find a description of Amid's illness. She needs the records of the Heir family, but such a secret is difficult to find. In the next book, she reads about the noble Skahite family and the Heir palace. Their domain is far in the cold north, among harsh nature. The lands are barren, but the place is called a natural fortress. Communication with other regions is limited, life is isolated. The Heir family strictly guards its borders and is proud of its lineage. Selena thinks that with such a history, pride is not surprising. But she is alarmed by the closed nature. Perhaps it is connected with her family. She dismisses the idea of marriage within the family as crazy. If it's a blood issue, the disease may be incurable. But even with this theory, many things don't add up. The disease did not manifest itself immediately, but with age. If the sun does not lose its light, what extinguishes it? Rona comes in and asks if the lady is tired. She worries that reading is harmful to her eyes. Selena assures that everything is fine and asks about Camilla's family. She is sure that the solution to the disease lies there. She is surprised that Duke Iprit married a woman from the distant Heir clan. Rona also finds it strange, but suggests that one person might know more. This is Colton Butler. At this time, the maids are discussing rumors about the quarrel between their owners. One speaks of a cold war between them and the hope of pleasing the great lady. The butler comes up and asks how long they have been working. He hands them envelopes with payment and compensation. And he reports that by order of his lordship they must leave the palace. The girls are in a panic, but he reminds them about breaking commitments and discussing personal matters. They signed the contract themselves and knew the rules. The decision is final. They are ordered to pack their things. One of them asks for forgiveness, but the butler leaves. Later, Selena notices that the maids are acting differently. Rona says that rumors reach them through Colton and suggests calling him. Selena agrees and realizes that she has a question for him. Colton comes in and she asks about her husband's illness. Amid doesn't speak to her, and Raymond is faithful to Camille. She cautiously asks about possible marriages within the Heir family, and Colton is surprised. She admits that she heard about a hereditary disease that caused the men of the family to fall into an eternal sleep. Selena says that she must find out the source of the illness for Amid's sake, because if it is in the blood, her attempts may be in vain, but this is her last hope. Selena understands that she must clarify the main thing. Amid's illness does not necessarily have to be connected with Heir's family. After all, he himself is sure that he will soon plunge into eternal sleep, and he speaks about it so calmly, as if it were inevitable. But Selena declares that she will save him, and asks Colton to tell her everything he knows. The butler thinks for a moment and admits that the Duke has a strong will to live. He says that Emmett was completely healthy as a child, until he began to lose consciousness, and adds that there were indeed marriages between relatives in Anor's family. Over time, they realized the danger and began to form alliances with other families, one of which was the Iprit family. At that time, the ducal family was under the strong influence of the emperor and needed support. The union took place, Amid was born, and both families breathed a sigh of relief since there were no alarming signs. But as he aged, his health deteriorated sharply, and Selena asked if the current empress was also from the Heir clan. Colton is at a loss for words and says that this is precisely why she should remain silent. If it becomes known that a hereditary disease can be transmitted even in mixed marriages, the Heir clan will be destroyed for deceiving the crown. He asks to leave everything as is and to allow the possible immersion into Amid's eternal sleep to be considered a natural outcome, and Selena is shocked by such words. But Colton is skeptical, as these types of illnesses usually manifest themselves at birth, not as adults. Selena thanks him for his honesty and promises that if Amid asks, she will say that she did not hear anything. Left alone, she realizes that she is back to square one, and the cause of the illness is still unknown. She has already checked the nutrition, the medications, everything possible, but she feels like she is missing something important. At this point, Rona reminds her that it's time to go for a walk with her owner, and Selena is shocked to realize that she forgot. It's already raining, and Rona assumes that Amid has returned, but Selena promises to come herself. She runs outside, scolding herself for forgetting her promise. After all, he should have returned in such weather, but it was still raining. And suddenly she sees Amid standing in the rain. He comes closer and asks with a slight grin if she has forgotten about him. Selena looks at his wet shirt and sheepishly denies it. She says he can't stand to stand in the rain, but he assures her it's okay. She argues, but he takes her hand and leads her along, not listening to her objections. Selena tries to shield him from the rain and asks him to think about his health. He gently asks her to put her hands down, because that way she will get wet herself. She obeys, but worries that he is cold, and he replies that it is only a little. Selena remembers the doctor's words about the temperature and hugs him. She says she doesn't care whether he likes it or not, she doesn't want him to get sick. Amid gradually relaxes in her arms. Selena can hear her heart beating wildly and wonders if he notices. She is embarrassed, and he suddenly hugs her back. She asks what he is doing, and he replies that he is cold. He comes closer, kisses her neck, and unties the ribbon in her hair. He calls her by name, more and more quietly and closer. And he kisses her in the rain, while her wet clothes stick to her body, and then he says that the rain has stopped. He strokes her hair, and Selena doesn't understand where this aching feeling inside comes from. They are about to go, but she stumbles. The heel slips off, and she tries to adjust the shoe. But Amid unexpectedly lifts her up in his arms, saying that it is difficult for her to walk in her wet dress. He jokes that he will carry her, and she protests, calling herself heavy, and he laughs, confirming this. Instead of putting it down, he asks her to hug him tighter. Selena grabs his shirt, and at the estate he orders a warm bath to be prepared. She asks sheepishly if she should stop, and he explains that the sofa will become wet and it will be difficult for her to walk without shoes. She admits that she feels awkward about such hugs. But Amid begins to take off her wet dress, saying that otherwise she will get sick. She sneezes and is soon left in light clothing. When he is about to take it off, she stops him, but he is surprised by her reaction. She understands that there is only underwear under the blouse and insists on refusing, but he reminds her that this is not the first time. Then she asks him to take off his clothes himself, otherwise it is not fair. He takes off his shirt without hesitation, and she is surprised by his determination. He covers her with a blanket and asks her to warm up. She's still cold, and he says the rain was too heavy. He dries her hair, and she worries that he himself is cold. She offers him a blanket, but he refuses and hugs her, assuring her that he doesn't want her to get sick. He whispers that her embrace is warmer than any blanket. Selena feels their closeness and is embarrassed, realizing that they are both cold. When the bath is ready, he takes her there. She wonders if he's going to stay with her, but he just gently places her in the water. She feels warmth, and he is about to leave so as not to embarrass her. But she offers to stay and take a bath together. She says she's afraid of losing consciousness, and after a pause he agrees. He sits down next to her, and Selena understands how this might look from the outside. She remembers their kiss in the rain, and realizes that things are not so simple. Her clothes are sticking to her body, and she decides to take them off, hoping that the steam will hide everything. She suggests that he also take off his clothes to make it more comfortable. He is surprised by her courage, but says that he will not look if she undresses. She thanks him and tries to deal with the knots. But suddenly he slips. Opening her eyes, she sees Amid in front of her. He grumbles about how she even survived this long, being so careless, and she just smiles and apologizes. She promises to stay away so as not to interfere. But he pulls her towards him and sits her on his lap. He says they just need to get warm, but she thinks they don't need to cuddle like that to do that. She tries to get comfortable. He asks her not to move, and she doesn't understand why. He admits that he is trying to restrain himself and asks her not to provoke him. She asks, confused, why he should hold back. Realizing what was said, she blushes and assures that she didn't mean anything like that. He takes her hand and she asks him to wait, but he turns her towards him and says that it's too late, because she started first. The next morning, she opens her eyes. Amid asks if she is awake, and asks with a smile if she is going to run away. She is indignant, and he says that he will not repeat past mistakes. And this time, he won't let her leave, which makes her feel embarrassed. She says he changed overnight. He smiles and replies that it was she who changed him. And he kisses her tenderly, as if confirming his words. Later, they have dinner right in bed. Selena says his illness seems strange. He explains that the symptoms appeared late, as they did in men on his mother's side, and that he may one day have to lie down just to live. She recalls his sudden fainting spell and asks if there was anything unusual about it. He replies that the day was normal, and the food was checked for poisons and everything was clean. He just took a regular painkiller for his headache. Selena suggests that the substance might have been disguised, and he is surprised by her thought. She says it might not have been poison, but something else that weakened the body. She asks him to give up his prejudices and not to accept the disease as a death sentence. Perhaps this is what is preventing the treatment from producing results. Amid smiles and admits that he used to dream of falling into eternal sleep on the battlefield, like a true knight. He says that he didn't know before where it would catch up with him, but now he thinks that he will quietly say goodbye to life, and at the same time he even considers himself blessed in some way. Amid smirks as he remembers the past, and Selena notices that he only listens to Raymond. And his talk about plunging into eternal sleep may be just the doctor's opinion. To which the Duke replies that he himself is not sure if this is true, but it was Raymond who was involved in his treatment from the very beginning, and studied his father's medical history, trying to find the cause. Selena concludes that before Raymond became chief physician, Amid was not sick. If anyone can influence the course of the disease, then suspicion falls on Raymond, but he has no motive, because if Amidshot Ozim plunges into eternal sleep without an heir, the connection between their families will be severed. And the longer Amid lives, the more profitable it is for the doctor himself, because without the Duke he will lose both status and influence. Selena cuddles up to her husband and apologizes, admitting that her guesses may have been wrong. She asks only one thing, even if he loses hope, that he should not push away her faith in him. Later she returns to the room, and Rona carefully hints that she heard that the lady spent the night with the master. Selena falls onto the bed and threatens to throw Rona out if she continues asking questions. It's been a busy day, and she can barely remember how she even made it to the room when another woman suddenly addresses her. This is Greta, the former head maid, and she brings the potion on Camille's orders, because Celine spent the night with Amid. Selena has already gotten used to this, and silently drinks the potion, realizing that otherwise they won't leave her alone. Greta watches and reminds that there is little time left before the official marriage, and Madame told her to save her strength. She talks about the futility of pursuing pleasure, and Selena just looks at her coldly. She sarcastically remarks that it's a shame that Greta can only think in that direction, and suggests telling Camilla that she and Amid are perfectly prepared for anything. After this, she lets the maid go, and she leaves with a bow. Selena sighs heavily, and Rona asks if everything is okay. Her head is spinning, and her body feels like it's on fire, and Rona gets scared, thinking that the lady has a fever. She suggests calling a doctor immediately, but Selena remembers that Amid stood in the rain longer than her and wants to see him. However, when she tries to get up, everything starts to blur before her eyes and she falls back onto the bed. After a while, someone puts a cold compress on her forehead. Opening her eyes, she sees Amid and is surprised that he is nearby. He asks her to continue sleeping, saying that the medicine will work, but she grabs his hand. She asks him not to go and not to leave her alone. He covers her hand with his and says that he hasn't gone anywhere, and the next day she wakes up feeling better. Rona tells how the lady suddenly lost consciousness and how worried the owner was. Selena thanks them and wonders if it's strange that it's just a fever, since she had no other symptoms besides the fever. She remembers the rain, but senses there is something else and asks who made tea for Amid. Rona replies that Emma used to do this, but now Greta does. And Selena realizes that Greta is making tea for Camilla too. She asks Rona to bring this tea and keep everything a secret. When the tea arrives, Selena thanks her for her caution. At first glance, there is nothing strange, but suddenly she notices a small grain. This is tor, an expensive spice for hot dishes, sometimes added to tea for flavor. It is not considered harmful, and Selena wonders if she is being too suspicious. But at that moment, a maid runs into the room shouting an urgent matter. She reports that the owner has lost consciousness, and Selena rushes to him. Touching his hand, she mentally asks him to hold on and promises to protect him. Raymond asks if she wants to know the reason for her fainting spell, and she says sure. He explains it by the rain and the incurable disease, and Selena asks if it is inevitable. The doctor confirms this. Then she remarks with a slight smile that if Amid recovers, Raymond will turn out to be a charlatan. He doesn't understand her hint, and she says that she has found out everything she needs to know and can let him go. She then tells Rona to prepare the carriage. She recalls that Amid had breakfast with her and then ate nothing except 1 cup of tea, and it is tea that becomes her only clue. She goes to the pharmacist and asks to examine the drink. The man first says that these are ordinary tea leaves, but he notices one component that shouldn't be in the random set. He shows the grain, and Selena confirms it is a taurus. The pharmacist explains that when mixed with certain substances, it enhances their effects, especially with strong painkillers, causing the body to overheat. And in severe cases, this can drive a person to madness. Selena realizes that this matches Amid's symptoms and asks what this could lead to. The man says it causes suffering but does not guarantee eternal sleep. This is a way to torture, not to take life. Selena wonders if the taurus was added systematically, thanks Walter, and leaves. He asks if she is coming home, but she doesn't answer. Soon she bursts into Camilla's room, demanding an immediate conversation. Raymond appears nearby, surprised by her appearance. She asks why he is here. Camilla asks if it has anything to do with Amid, and the doctor confirms. He says he conducted an investigation after the fainting spell. The maid shows a bottle of wine, and Selena is amazed. Camilla, horrified, asks if her son has been poisoned, but the doctor says it is not poison. The bottle contained eye drops, and he claims that, according to rumors, the bottle was brought by the Duchess. Camilla accuses Selena, who is shocked. The doctor's smile frightens her. Camilla orders the girl to be locked up until the matter is clarified. Selena swears she didn't do it, but she knows her words won't help. She breaks free from the maid's hands, determined not to give up. She is confident that she will find the real cause of the disease. She is locked in and remembers Amid's heavy breathing. She is worried, but tries to stay calm. The side effects have already made themselves known, and time is short. Raymond enters the room. He says he came to talk, and Selena asks if he wants to confess. He replies that he came to inform her of her fate and offers her a choice. He asks if she knows what punishment Camilla has prepared, and Selena smiles and suggests that it is being put into eternal sleep. Raymond replies that that would be too easy. The real punishment is being sent to a place where she will live until she falls into eternal sleep. She guesses that we are talking about Metis. He confirms that this is a mental hospital for the nobility. And he adds that it is impossible to get out of there alive. He says Camilla wanted to get rid of her differently, but he suggested this option. Now everything depends on the decision of the Duchess herself. Selena understands that a mistake will cost her life. He offers to confess that she gave Amadou an aphrodisiac and promises to help her survive. Then she will simply be expelled from the mansion. That is, she should leave silently. But Selena refuses, and he is shocked by her choice. She calmly says that she is not crazy. He smiles and wishes her to spend the rest of her life in Metis. Selena notices that he talks about it as if he had been there himself. He is surprised, and she hints that someone from his family might have been sent there. She notices that he speaks of Metis as if it were his home. He coldly asks her to moderate her imagination and leaves, loudly slamming the door. Selena sits on the bed and tries to figure out what will happen next. She needs an excuse to meet Camilla, and at that moment the maid comes in with food. Seeing the tray, Selena realizes that this is her chance, and the maid says that she will not leave until the lady eats. Then Selena feigns severe pain and begins to cough, complaining of dizziness. The maid runs out in a panic for help, and Selena realizes that the plan worked. Camilla soon appears, and Selena quietly asks if she has arrived. Camilla is surprised by her cheerfulness, but the maid confirms that everything looked serious. Selena asks if Mother is going to leave, and Camilla tells everyone to leave. Selena says outright that she did not give Amid an aphrodisiac. Camilla coldly asks not to waste her time, and Selena replies that faith is not necessary. But if she is innocent, things become more dangerous, because the real culprit is still in the mansion. She shows the tea and asks if Camilla recognizes the ingredient. Camilla calmly replies that it is tor, expensive tea. Selena clarifies whether she knows about the consequences of its excessive use. She explains that an overdose can cause seizures and high fever, and a sharp pain throughout the body, something Selena had already gone through herself. Camilla doesn't understand what this means, but Selena says the symptoms were the same. After taking the medicine, her temperature rose and she lost consciousness. The same thing happened with Amid, and Greta took the pills. Any servant could enter the tea room, and Camilla is shocked by the thought that it could be Greta. Selena insists the facts are clear. At this point, they announce that Dr. Raymond has arrived, and Camilla hesitates. Selena asks to at least listen to her, even if there is no trust. She feels like everything is collapsing, like a sandcastle. She begs for a chance to save Amid before it's too late. Camilla thinks about it, and Selena continues that it is not a congenital disease. Amid has never been sick before, and this is not a natural illness. She asks not to send her to a mental hospital, as Raymond suggested. Camilla is shocked, and Selena says that otherwise she would not have known about Metis. Now Camille realizes that Raymond is hiding something, and Selena declares that Amid's life is in danger. In an unconscious state, he is even more defenseless. She asks to be allowed to find the culprit. Returning to the room, Selena sees the head maid, who promises support. Selena agrees and asks to bring Greta's tea. She deliberately praises his taste, but the maid asks her not to say that. Selena asks for 2 cups, and she leaves. Then Rona comes. She hugs the lady and asks if the charges have been dropped, but Selena asks her for help. She instructs Rona to find out everything about Raymond and Matisse, especially about his relatives. Rona asks about the head doctor, and Selena is sure that the butler knows more. Rona promises to do her best and leaves cautiously. Selena realizes that Raymond knows Metis too well, and with Greta's help, she will be able to destroy his alliance with Camilla. She takes out the box and decides to write everything down. Soon the maid returns with tea. Selena invites Greta to have a drink, but she declines. Selena says that otherwise she will think that the tea is poisoned. She opens the lid and points to the Taurus. Suddenly she pours tea on Greta's head and asks if she is tired of drinking it. She warns that the charges could also affect Greta. She asks in horror if she will be blamed. Selena claims that the tea contained a dangerous ingredient for Amid. Thor enhances the effect of drugs in case of overdose. The doctor should have known about this, and the tea was the same that was served to the Duke. Selena shows a book with purchase records. That day, Amid passed out after Greta's tea, and Raymond knew about it, so she asks him to tell the truth. She suggests discussing everything with Camilla. Greta admits that she checked the food and medicine, but did not suspect the tea. She swears she didn't know the consequences. The doctor told her to keep quiet and serve tea on request. Selena realizes that Raymond has been manipulating her from the very beginning. She suggests uniting against him. Greta agrees, but there are no other witnesses. All the maids were replaced immediately after Amid's illness. Selena asks Greta to tell Camilla everything. Left alone, she realizes that there is little evidence. The first attack was 5 years ago, and then there should have been a pharmacist. Raymond worked through him. If the pharmacist is still here, he might reveal the truth, but Selena has nothing to attract him with. She decides to see Amid first. In his room, she meets Raymond with a smirk. She asks him to leave, and he says he can ask Camilla directly. He mockingly suggests doing everything possible. Selena sits down next to her husband and says with tears that she will protect everyone. She touches his face and is going to prove her innocence. Rona returns and reports that no one saw Amid's first fainting spell. Nobody knows how it started, and Colton's silence seems suspicious. Selena decides to talk to him in person. She picks up the doctor's handkerchief without initials, and he goes to Colton, ordering him not to take Raymond's medication. She understands that the value of things depends on who owns them. In the office, the butler allows her to enter. He reminds us that the office belongs to the Duke and his wife, and the word wife sounds reassuring. She looks at the portrait of Amid's father and notices the resemblance. She asks about Raymond's relatives in Metis, but the butler hesitates. She says that he does not know how to lie and asks for the truth for Amid's sake. He requires proof of trust. Selena swears that she will not leave the Duke alone. She is sure that Raymond is taking revenge on the family. The butler apologizes, but cannot break his promise. However, if this threatens the current master, he is obliged to speak. He reveals that Raymond is an adopted son and a distant relative of the family. He was adopted as the son of close friends of the Duke. He had a daughter, Anne, who was seriously ill and was listed as his sister. Selena realizes that this is the owner of the scarf. Colton adds that Anne was the former Duke's mistress before their marriage. Selena is shocked and thinks Lionel has gone crazy after marrying Camilla. Anne lost her child, ended up in a mental hospital, and 5 years ago fell into an eternal sleep. The main character understands that all this sounds incredible, and is Raymond really taking revenge for the past by trying to destroy Camilla? But she has no proof, and she needs to come up with something urgently. At that moment, she hears a man's voice saying he doesn't know how to get there, but that's where the order was placed. The maid asks him to leave, but Selena approaches and calmly says they haven't seen each other for a long time. The boy immediately greets the Duchess. Selena asks if something is wrong, and he explains that Mr. Raymond is busy, so he came in his place, but Rona wouldn't let him in. Selena replies that it was her order and asks how he is and how long it's been since he saw Raymond. The guy says he just brought some medicine. He admits he accidentally dropped it last time and is afraid of punishment if Raymond finds out. Selena asks what kind of product it is. The young man explains that the drug is intended for quick administration during a sudden attack and is used only in emergency situations. Selena grabs his hand and asks if that means it's taken rarely. He confirms, adding that the medication has serious side effects and shouldn't be overused. She asks if this was Raymond's order. He replies no, he was trained by his personal pharmacist. His name is Walter, and Selena immediately realizes that he is an important link against Raymond. She asks Rona to call Walter urgently. The maid agrees, and the boy asks, confused, what he should do now. Selena hands him a handkerchief and asks him to give it to Raymond, saying that he needs it more. Later, she gathers all the witnesses. And when Camilla arrives, she wonders why there are so many people here. Selena says she's keeping her promise and investigating Amid's illness. Camilla asks, doubtfully. The young lady points to Greta and the pharmacist, claiming they are witnesses. It all started 5 years ago, when the Duke had his first seizure. The painkiller he was taking was too strong, and when combined with the tea, caused severe side effects. Selena emphasizes that Greta did not do this intentionally. She did not know that Thor would enhance the effect of the drug. The pharmacist confirmed that the drug was powerful, and was only prescribed for unbearable pain, and Raymond knew this very well. Camilla notes that the maid could not have failed to understand the consequences, but Selena insists that it was different. Greta falls to her knees and admits that she acted on Raymond's instructions, and Camille orders her to stand up. She then demands an explanation from Raymond. He calmly replies that it's all true, and Camilla, shocked, asks why he did it, because she trusted him. Raymond says she put the child in his sister's womb into eternal sleep, while the Duke rejoiced at his future fatherhood, and that was unforgivable. His sister suffered, and eventually fell into eternal sleep as well. He claims he wanted justice, and Camilla orders him locked up. As he is led away, he says that it is a pity that he did not take the life of her son with his own hands, and Selena feels terrified by these words. Camilla orders that Greta be captured as well. Greta looks at Selena, pleading for help. But Selena says punishment is inevitable. Camilla coldly remarks that, in the end, the girl won. Then she cuts off the conversation and declares that she doesn't want to see her. Rona asks Selena to go back to her room and rest. But Selena refuses, saying that she cannot rest, and goes to Amid. She sits down next to him and notices how chilly the room is. Walking over to the window, she realizes it's cold and starts to close it. Suddenly, she hears a noise and sees that the door is open, although she definitely closed it. Turning around, Selena sees a sword being held to Amid's throat. She covers him with her body, but the attacker grabs her and presses the knife to her neck. Selena realizes she can't go into eternal sleep without talking to Amid, and at that moment, someone knocks down the attacker. The grip disappears, and she hears a voice asking if she is okay. It is Amid, who has already come to his senses, and he is worried that she is injured. Selena rushes to him, and he reassures her, saying that everything is fine. She looks at him, not believing that he is awake. He asks with a slight smile why she still doubts, and kisses her tenderly. Pulling back, Selene notices a man on the floor and says he tried to put the Duke into eternal sleep. Amid replies that he knows, but she feels like she's seen this man before. She remembers that this is one of the new servants and tells Amid about it. He then reveals that Raymond added herbs to his tea, causing the disease to progress. Amid is silent, and Selena asks if he is not surprised. He says that he felt something strange when he fainted, but now it is more important to find out who sent the assassin. Later, Camilla comes to her son and is glad he's awake. Amid tells her he's been attacked, and that the body of the attacker lies in the room. Camilla, horrified, accuses Selena, but Amid firmly declares that his wife is not guilty. He says he has something to tell his mother, and soon approaches the tied-up Raymond and Greta. He takes a pendant out of his pocket and says that he will start with this. Inside were the pills he always carried with him to take before attacks. He asks Walter if he created the medicine, but he replies that he was only passing on the recipe. Selena adds that the ingredients contained herbs that weren't supposed to be there, and they became addictive. The pharmacist confirms that he warned about the risks, and Amid asks why he didn't tell him earlier. Walter replies that he is obligated to keep the client's secret. Amid claims that Raymond deliberately altered the composition. But now there are no traces of drugs, and the evidence has almost disappeared. Camilla asks Raymond why he played with her son's life for 5 years. He coldly replies that he has nothing to add. Camilla orders the butler to hang them immediately. Selena is shocked, and Greta begs for mercy. Camilla says she has no intention of putting her into eternal sleep, and Amid suggests exiling her to the lands of Anorga. Selena realizes that this is Camilla's homeland, a harsh and cold place. Amid tells Raymond that he will treat the sick there, and Greta will become his assistant. Selena understands that this is more like an exile, because the conditions there are harsh and merciless. Amid admits that he himself is to blame for his carelessness. He then tells his mother that his wife will now run the palace. He states that this is how it should have been from the beginning and he will correct his mistakes. Selena realizes that their contract is over. Everything that threatened them is over, and she finally breathes a sigh of relief. Amid notices her condition and she rushes to him, telling him how happy she is. But then he falls silent, realizing he can now leave this place, and tears begin to flow down his cheeks. It took Duke Ifrit only 1 day to decide everything. However, some nobles are unhappy with his return and doubt his skills. Marquis Deus, the knight's second in command, demands proof of skill. Amid puts on the Sun Knight's armor, and Selena looks at him with confusion. She admits that this is the first time she sees him in uniform, and this image suits him incredibly well. It seems to her that there is a completely different person in front of her, and if he had not fallen ill, they would never have met. He comes closer and says he has an idea, and Selena is worried about Camilla. He assures her that the mother will simply get nervous and calm down, and asks if that is true. He says he wants to prove his love to her, and Selena shyly replies that his heart is enough for her. Amid smiles and promises to return soon, and she wishes him luck. After a while, a servant runs in and reports that Duke Ifrit performed brilliantly. He officially returned to his post as commander of the Knights after winning a duel after a 5-year hiatus. The Sun Knight has once again received recognition and praise. Returning to the estate, the first thing he does is go to his wife and tell her that he has returned. In the garden, he announces that he has been entrusted with command again. Selena understands that this will temporarily improve relations with the Empress, but war is still inevitable. Now that he has grown stronger, he will definitely be sent to the battlefield, and she is worried. Amid stands in front of her, and he says he has something for her. He hands her a box and tells her that his heart is inside. Opening it, Selena sees a luxurious decoration with a huge precious stone. At first she asks in surprise if it is a collar, but then thanks him. A few days later, Selena brings him tea and knocks on the door. Having received no answer, she comes in and suggests taking a break. She sees that he has fallen asleep on the chair from fatigue. Selena takes his cape to cover him, quietly telling him that he needs to rest. But he grabs her hand and asks what she is doing. She explains that she came in because she didn't hear an answer and realizes it was worth the wait. After all, their contract is already up, they are divorced, and she only says that she is glad that everything is okay with him, after which she is going to leave. At that moment, Amid pulls her towards him and kisses her, and Selena understands that she cannot give in to these feelings. She pulls away, but he just smiles and offers to live with him for real from today on. Selena tries to object, but he calmly reminds her that they are still a couple, and how spouses should fulfill their responsibilities. The girl is embarrassed, but suddenly asks if Amid wants her to bear him a child. He nods without hesitation and says that he wants a child from her, after which he kisses her again. The next morning, Selena wakes up feeling heavy. She gets up and calls out to Rona, but Rona is horrified to notice a red liquid on the bed. The doctor comes in and asks if she's been taking birth control. Selena replies no, and doesn't see why she would. He explains that this type of bleeding is a side effect of the pill. Selena insists she hasn't taken anything like that, but the doctor says it has happened among his patients. They all took the same medications, and even a small dose can cause a severe reaction. These remedies were popular among the nobility, but they're expensive, and few can afford them. Furthermore, the dosage must be strictly controlled. Otherwise, heavy bleeding is possible. Selena recalls taking only the prenatal vitamins that Greta brought her. She wonders if Raymond passed them on and asks what the consequences might be. After all, she was sure that these were just vitamins, and now she asks if they could have been contraceptives. The doctor replies that nothing can be tested without the medicine itself, and Selena anxiously asks, what if it has already worked? He explains that such drugs are of high quality, but, essentially, it's a powerful snake venom, and it's a real poison for the body. Selena recalls that Greta once hit a snake, and he understands that everything could have been planned in advance. She asks the doctor about her condition, and she hears that she might not be able to have children in the future. Selena is shocked because Amid wanted a child, and now she can't give him what she considered most important. The doctor says he can't promise anything, and apologizes. Selena asks him not to tell her husband about it. At this moment, Camilla comes in and asks what exactly he said. She demands to know if Selena really can't have children, and orders everyone to leave so they can talk in private. Selena admits that she probably took birth control pills, thinking they were vitamins, and she started bleeding heavily. Camilla demands proof. Selena says Greta brought the medication and always took the bottle after each dose, and asks why they gave it to her, since they had a contract. Camilla just smirks and asks if this means that Selena herself didn't want to give birth. Selena firmly replies that she came to the mansion specifically for the sake of the child for Amid, and asks to call those two, but Camilla says that this is pointless. They have already been sent north, and it is unlikely that they will confess. This means that the doctor deliberately wanted to interrupt their lineage, and now Selena will not be able to bear an heir. Camilla coldly says that Amid needs an heir, and he will have to be born from another woman. She reminds that according to the contract, Selena must leave as soon as Amid recovers, and the contract is already completed. Selena smiles bitterly and says that she signed this contract herself. But she wanted to live with him all her life, becoming a real wife and bearing heirs, and everything collapsed in an instant. Camilla asks when she will leave. Selena replies that soon, and Camilla warns that Amid must not know anything. If he finds out she's infertile, he'll still leave her. Selena asks Rona to change her bed. Rona says that the master must not know, and Selena asks not to tell anyone anything. If you keep quiet, no one will know. Rona almost cries but agrees, and Selena asks for a different maid to be sent that evening. She is afraid that she will not be able to give birth to Amid's child, and this tears her apart from the inside. Later, she is about to drink wine, but hears a voice asking her to stop. It's Amid. He sits down next to her and asks why she's drinking alone. He notices that the maid has changed, and Selena says that Rona is sick. But he heard that the doctor had come and looked worried. He says he heard about the blood and was worried about the sudden bleeding. Selena assures that everything is fine, it's just the peculiarities of the female body. Amid suggests that he may have overdone it, but she denies it. He promises to be more careful, and Selena asks if he will be upset if she is not pregnant. He doesn't understand what she's getting at, and she says that many knights already have children. Amid recalls that Simon's wife was expecting a child, and he was genuinely happy for him. When asked about envy, he replies that he was simply happy for his friend, and Selena considers whether to tell him the truth. Amid picks her up and asks what she is thinking about. He lays her down on the bed and asks her not to worry, but just rest. Selena asks when the war will start, and he says it will be announced soon. He invites her to go to the Southern Territory while he is at war. It's warm and in a big mansion, and when he returns, the first thing he wants to see is her. He kisses her on the forehead and asks her to sleep. At night, Selena wakes up and sits by the window, remembering that tomorrow is the ceremony, and admires the view. Amid comes up and asks what happened, and she says she's looking at the stars. She reminds him of tomorrow's ceremony and says that she thought he wouldn't come. He asks if she is glad to see him before leaving, and Selena, embarrassed, says his name. And she kisses him, which surprises Amida. He asks what she is doing, and she replies that she doesn't know when she will see him again. So she suggests they spend an unforgettable night. He becomes even more embarrassed. He kisses her and says that without her, his world will become dark because she is his moon. In the morning, someone asks her to continue sleeping. It's Amid in armor. Celine rises and begs him to return unharmed. He touches her cheek and promises to return alive, and she says she will wait. He hugs her, and the next day, Pamela tells Selena to leave. He says that Amid won't return until the end of the war, and Selena has enough checks to cash. The document also states the termination of all marital obligations. The lawyer shows a place for signature, and Camilla says that she will take care of everything herself. Selena remembers the Duke's warm smile as he kissed her hand. But Camilla coldly declares that if she refuses, her finger will be cut off, and the seal will be placed by force. Selena calmly says that she will leave on her own, signs the contract, and does not want to listen to threats. She bows and says goodbye to her mother, and in the corridor she is stopped by a lawyer. He says he has something for her, and he hands over an envelope with the seal of Duke Heir, which only Amid can use. Inside are documents for land and a large sum of money given to her by the Duke. Selena is shocked by the amount and asks if it's really all hers. The lawyer confirms that the land and assets were transferred to her name and that the documents were drawn up at Amid's request. Selena wonders if he was preparing for their divorce in advance, and he doesn't understand why he asked to wait for him then. The lawyer hands over another document for signature, confirming the payment of alimony. Selena asks if she can really take all of this, since she already has gold. He replies that the amount is much larger and needs proof of delivery. Selena signs, and he wishes her luck. She says that everything is really over, and the lawyer hopes for a bright future for her. Selena gets into the carriage and on the way notices a familiar dessert shop, where she went with Amid and asks to stop. She realizes that this is her last visit, goes inside and sits down alone. She hears talk of war and the Knights of the Sun, and how the Empire will not end its feud. People are discussing how if Amid had not recovered, the Crown Prince would have commanded the army himself, and they are questioning whether peace is possible. They bring her tea and dessert, and Selena realizes that winning or losing doesn't matter. She just wants Amid to return alive, even if he ends up in captivity, as long as he lives, and tears begin to roll down her cheeks. She wipes her eyes, but the tears don't stop. She understands that this is the end for them, and she may never see him again. Meanwhile, the Duke is fighting at the front. After the fight, he sits down to rest, and a comrade asks if he is okay. He suggests sleeping, but Amid is interested in the condition of others. The comrade says that he is obliged to protect Sir Amid and points to the map where the strategic territory with supplies is located. There is a source of iron ore there, and a strong army is built on training and weapons. If they capture this land, their power will increase, and the enemy is also eager to do the same. Amid steps out into the cold snow and says that negotiations will take time, and Devinette replies that they can handle it. At this time, one of the knights cries after receiving a letter from his wife, and the other says that he also received a letter. And the Duke silently looks at them and remembers how he promised Selena to come to her first thing when he returned. He suddenly realizes that he has never received a single letter from her. He is about to leave, but someone calls out and says that a letter has arrived from Duchess Ifrit. The Duke instantly changes direction, and the brunette notices that, although he didn't say anything, he was clearly waiting for this letter. The blonde reads the lines greedily. But suddenly his face darkens, and the brunette asks what happened. The Duke silently throws down the letter, and it turns out that it is from the Godfather and not from Selena. One of the knights realizes that now the commander will be gloomy all day. The Duke says he is leaving, but he is stopped and told important news. Only one soldier managed to break through the enemy camp and return alive. The blonde orders everyone to be rounded up. The knights are on their knees, and the commander asks who gave the order to act without him and whether it was his deputy. One admits that he made the decision himself, and the Duke reminds him that, according to military law, such a thing is punishable by death. At this moment, His Highness comes up and asks if he dares to put his knights into eternal sleep. He threatens that, once he becomes emperor, he will plunge everyone, starting with the people of Amid, into eternal sleep. This is Crown Prince Lois. The Duke calmly replies that if he has decided to plunge them into eternal sleep, let him say it to his face. He calls him Lieutenant Commander, and Lois gets angry when she notices the ring on his hand. He sarcastically asks if his wife is so beautiful that he wears the ring even in battle. And he adds that it is interesting to watch their fictitious marriage. The Duke looks darkly at Lois, who continues to taunt her about how good she must be in bed. The next second, Lois gets punched in the face, and the brunette asks in shock what the commander is doing. The Duke looks coldly at the prince and is ready to strike again. They are separated and demanded to stop. One of the knights says that such a quarrel undermines the discipline of the entire army. He reminds the Duke that he wants to win the war and return to his wife. Amid sighs, and Lois shouts that this is treason, and how dare he raise his hand against the future emperor. The Duke replies that this is his answer for his words about his wife, and asks if he wants an official duel. Lois is nervously silent, and at that moment they report about an envoy from the capital. The commander clarifies who it is, and whether it is a delegation. They tell him that it is the Marquis of Lot and his daughter, Lady Veronica. The girl approaches them. Lois greets her happily, while Veronica asks worriedly about his condition. He, with a bruised cheek, says he just fell awkwardly, and everyone exchanges glances. The Duke asks why she came. Veronica declares that she wants to end the war and must meet with Queen Catherine. She says that the war started because of the Queen, and intends to talk to her personally. Lois is lost in thought, and Veronica reminds her that she is the prince's fiancée and part of the royal family. The Duke objects that now is not the time for negotiations. Veronica insists that negotiations could save hundreds of lives. He replies that he understands her, but orders her and the Marquis to be taken to a safe place. Everyone is surprised, and Veronica says that she arrived on the king's orders. The Duke asks if he is not following orders, and she reminds him of the soldiers' lives. He coldly repeats the order and demands that they be taken away. The girl is shocked and asks if His Majesty will accept this. The Duke is interested in the relationship between her and Lois. Lois deflects the question, saying that now is not the time to talk, and Veronica is taken aback by his words. One of the knights remarks that the offer of negotiations is not bad, but the Duke says that he wants a perfect victory. He explains that this land is strategically important, and ending the war now is the best choice. Then he can return home to the people dear to him, and, looking at the ring, he thinks about Selina. He says he wants to give a gift, and the knight asks what it is. Amid replies that he wants to take the young lady to a special place after winning, and so that at the banquet she would stand next to him and everyone would envy her. He looks at the moon, and he thinks that he will give her this light while the knights enter the battle again. In the duel, Amid meets Duke Leighton and says that he wanted to see him. He asks for surrender so that the blood of soldiers is not shed. Leighton is doubtful, but Amid assures him that he can be trusted. Leighton recalls rumors of a young knight who was supposed to lead the Knights of the Sun, but was left bedridden, and sees that he is now fine. Amid asks to be allowed to take the weapons and supplies, promising to show mercy. Leighton throws the sword to the ground. Thus the war ends, the pavilion is restored to peace, and the empire is victorious. The defeated countries sign reparation treaties and an obligation not to attack again. The imperial army returns home victorious. Songs are playing, flowers are scattered in the air. But there is no banquet, because the war hero was not at the celebration. The Duke returns home, and the butler is glad to see him safe and sound. Amid immediately asks where Selina is, and the servant doesn't know what to answer. Camilla meets her son and asks why he wasn't at the banquet. But he asks again where Selina is. Camilla is sarcastic, asking if he is really only interested in this woman, and orders everyone to leave. She points to the papers on the table and says that he will understand everything after reading them. The documents indicate that Amid Ifrit and Selina Bizet have agreed to divorce. Camilla shows the signature and asks if he is convinced. He says it's impossible, and she claims that Selina never loved him. She gives him a contract made for the sake of the heir. It says that she came to give birth to a child for money. Camilla says there was no child, but the money was paid in full. And Selina left immediately after receiving the money. Amid calls the contract meaningless, and Camilla asks if he really believed in her love. She tells you to read the last line. It says that after the birth of the child, she will take the money and leave. Camilla claims that even if she had given birth to an heir, Selina would have left home for the sake of money. Amid remembers how she looked into his eyes and waited for his return. He didn't know her true feelings, but he saw her support. He refuses to sign anything and says he wants to hear everything from her herself. In his room, he realizes that he cannot sit idle. He decides to find out the truth about the contract. He calls Colton and demands an account of his wife's future. The butler apologizes and says that he was hoping for the master's return. He was afraid that Selina would find out about everything this way. He says Selina was originally planning to leave, but Amid calls that a lie. The butler couldn't stop her, but he sent a man to watch her. Amid demands to be brought to her immediately, but Colton asks to wait. He reports that she was lost in the Fadden market, where there are a lot of people. She was mistaken for a woman in a similar cloak, and the trail was lost. And her relatives know nothing. Amid asks if he told her family, but the butler only apologizes. The Duke says he will deal with him later, but now asks to bring Rona to Selina's room. Rona comes and asks if the master called her. He asks where Selina might have gone, but Rona says she didn't say anything. The Duke thinks she must have left something behind. He looks at the engagement ring and the jewelry he gave her, and he asks what she took with her, but Rona replies that nothing. He clarifies whether this means she left empty-handed. The butler confirms that this is how it happened. The Duke looks at his ring and realizes that Selina didn't give him a chance, left silently, and cut off all ties. Now the young man understands that something clearly doesn't add up, because Selina let everything go too easily and left her husband too calmly. A few days later, he goes to her family, but doesn't find a single clue there. He searches everywhere until one of the servants brings a cloth with a wrapped item found in the pawn shop. The blonde man sees that it is Selina's earring, and the servant says that he found it in a pawn shop in Deaton City. An elderly woman picks up an earring on the street. The Duke asks if there's anything else and whether it could have harmed his wife. The servant replies that it is unlikely, she just needed money, and she quickly left. The Duke understands that the earring is expensive, and people often return to places they have already been. If Selena is in this city, he can't ignore such a find. Amid comes out of the office and announces that they are heading to Deaton City. He realizes that it is time to look for his lost moon. At this time, Selena is sitting in the office and, while scratching behind her ear, she wonders if anyone is remembering her. Later, she looks at the plants and realizes that she has cut off all ties since leaving. But she likes her new life, because everything here is different from her old home. Here the drugs are tested, unlike Walter, who deceived people. She welcomes the opportunity to study herbs and develop herself. A colleague asks if she's going to read all the books, and Selena smiles and offers to read them together, but she admits she's not very knowledgeable. The girl sighs and counts how much more work she needs to do to pay off the debt. Ina notices that Selena is missing her second earring. Selena says that she lost it and doesn't know where, but she feels that she will find it soon. She recalls losing things before, and they were returned. Ina shares rumors from the market. They say the commander of the Sun Knights is incredibly handsome, and it was thanks to him that the war ended, and yet he is supposedly lonely, and everyone is interested in who will become his wife. Selena understands that even in a small town, rumors about the Duke reach, because his name is known throughout the empire. She is glad that he is alive, but convinces herself not to think about him anymore because they are divorced. Ina asks if he was really married, and Selena says it might just be a rumor. But Ina insists that he married a poor girl when he was sick, and when he recovered and achieved everything, it was as if he abandoned her. Selena's book fell at these words. She says the commander is an honest man, which is hardly true, but Ina shrugs. Nobles rarely married for love. Rather, it was a matter of calculation. Ina adds that the victory banquet has been cancelled, and Selena is surprised. It turns out that the commander has no companion, no wife, no mistress. Selena thinks how ridiculous this is. She says it might be more complicated than that and returns to work, even though, for Ina, this is the event of the century. A customer enters the shop, and the girls exchange glances. It's a young man with gray hair. Ina whispers that he comes every day for Selene. He turns to her and says that he has been waiting a long time for the opportunity to talk. Selena steps out for a minute, closing the door behind her. There is an awkward silence, and Ina asks if she can help him. He refuses and goes after Selena. He asks if she is deliberately ignoring him. Later, Selena washes her clothes and feels tired. She is worried about the rumors about Amida because he is the best and most loyal knight. As she shakes the sheet, a gray-haired boy approaches and offers to help. She refuses, but he asks why she is ignoring him. Selena wonders why he is so persistent. The guy gets irritated and grabs her hand, demanding an answer. She screams and threatens to call for help. At that moment, he is pushed away and Selena turns around in shock. Amid stands in front of her and calmly says that she is his wife. He orders the guy to leave, he bows and runs away, and Selena doesn't understand what he's doing here. Amid straightens her hair and says that they haven't seen each other for a long time, asking why she is silent. She asks how he found her, and he says she looks like she saw a ghost. Ina comes out and wonders where Selena was. Seeing the Duke, she admires his appearance. She jokes that it might be a debt collector, but Selena is quick to point out that it's not like that. Amid declares that he is her husband, and Selena wants to object, but does not dare. He pulls her towards him and repeats that she is his wife. Ina leaves them alone, embarrassed. Selena sighs, not knowing what to say. She pours him tea and asks him to drink it. Amid asks if this means she lives here and wonders how she makes money. He asks if she really doesn't understand anything. Selena says she likes her new life, as she felt like she was in a penal servitude at the residence. She lived as if in a prison and didn't know when it would all end. She sold herself for 500,000 ducats, but was unable to bear a child, and if she stayed, she would lose. Then she would have to live with his mother for the rest of her days. She left to save herself, and waited for his recovery to get a divorce. Amid asks if this means she doesn't love him. Selena replies that this is just an excuse. He hands her the earring he found and says that he thought she had sold it or something terrible had happened to her. He feared the worst. Selena turns away and says it doesn't matter now. It's all over now, and it's time for them to say goodbye. But the Duke only smiles. He takes her hand, throws the papers on the table, and says that they are not divorced. The contract was not breached, and he did not sign the divorce. He says they made a vow and she disappeared, signing the papers without him. Now she must answer for this. He hugs her and says that the birth of the child was a condition for the dissolution of the marriage. Therefore, she must fulfill the condition. Selena thinks he doesn't know about her infertility. She admits that she will not be able to have a child, but Amid puts an engagement ring on her. He says that no matter what happens, he will always be with her. She asks him to let her go, and he replies that otherwise she will fall. She cries out that she doesn't want to go back to the mansion, and he asks if she hates him that much. Selena says the house was a prison for her, and she endured it for the money. She doesn't understand why he listens to all this and why the contract can't be terminated. She says she will return the money because she didn't spend a single coin. He is surprised, and she confirms that the amount is in the bag. He asks why she didn't use them, and she realizes she couldn't. She could not spend the money obtained in this way and insists that she will return it. She wants to end the conversation, but he follows her. He asks if she thinks he's a thief, and she notices that the money is gone. She is shocked and asks who did it. Amid assumes it was her colleague. She finds a note in her bag. In it, the girl apologizes, says that she had no choice, promises to return the money, and even notes that Selina's husband is handsome and rich. The Duke says it's like a stab in the back. Selina stubbornly repeats that she will return the money to him because the girl promised to return it to her. The blonde asks when this will happen and what they should do next, whether she will really be able to return such a sum. Selina confidently replies that she will repay the debt at any cost, and he asks if she intends to live like this until she pays it off. And will she even be able to exist peacefully in this situation? The girl feels like a pawn, as if everything has already been decided for her, and no matter what path she chooses, the outcome will be a losing one. So she says that what he really needs is not money at all. He's suffering because of his feelings for her, and now he's learned it was all contractual and she can't bear him a child. She understands that Amid won't abandon her out of a sense of responsibility, which is perhaps why Camilla has kept silent. After all, he stubbornly sought her, and will not give up until he gets what he wants. Selina quietly says that she regrets the contract with his mother, and he considers this his redemption. She asks him to come home, but he leans closer and asks if she understands what she is doing is wrong. Selina realizes that he wants a child, and the one she dreams of will most likely never be born, and jumps up, trying to say something. But he interrupts and says that from today on, she doesn't have to worry about it. She suddenly declares that she hates children, and the Duke looks at her in surprise. Then she admits that she wanted to give birth to the child of her beloved and be a real wife, and not part of a deal. Amid frowns and asks how this is possible. She suggests that he find someone else and forget her, asking how much longer he plans to keep her close. He replies that for a night, the word divorce does not exist. Selina says that with a good reason, divorce is possible without shame, and he clarifies what reason he is talking about. She replies that, for example, the wife's infertility may be sufficient grounds. Therefore, she asks him to divorce her so that no one will judge her. As he heads for the door, he says he already has an excuse and answers her question by saying he will let her go when he gets tired of her. In the carriage, Selina realizes that she is still returning with Amid to Ifrit's residence. He took her away without a chance to pack her things, and she wonders if she can even live there again. The Duke extends his hand to her, and she feels as if she is going there for the first time, only now she is not alone. He asks if she is afraid, and she still takes his hand, saying no. As she steps out of the carriage, the servants welcome the Duchess back. Selina feels a little awkward, but she enters the mansion. In the room, she looks around and asks if anything has changed, and then says that she wants to walk to the embankment. She feels uncomfortable, but the Duke pulls her close and reminds her that they are a couple. And they should be together, because, having returned, she again became his wife, which makes Selina feel lost. Returning to her room, she notices that everything remains the same. Suddenly, Rona runs in with tears and says that the lady has returned, admitting that she was afraid of never seeing her again. Selina asks if she remembers their conversation. Rona confirms, and Selina asks not to tell Amid, then asks where Colton is. Rona replies that if we are talking about the butler, then he is going to leave the residence today. Selina finds him and says that she heard about his departure, and he confirms it. She asks why, but he only says that there will be others to take his place. Selina thanks him for his help and says that he is not to blame for anything. She recalls asking him not to tell Amid about her departure so that he would not worry. Colton says the Duke's safety was his duty, and Selina admits she can't have children, asking if he knows. Then she herself answers that, probably not. He says he didn't know, and she asks why he gave the Duke the hint anyway. Colton replies that it was a way to avoid responsibility, and the gentleman did the rest himself. Selina says that she will now play her role with dignity and become a better duchess. And she asks him to stay, because without him the farm will fall into decline. With a smile, she asks him not to leave, and he looks at her silently. Colton drops the suitcase, bows and thanks her, promising to keep her secret. Selina thanks him and wishes him luck. Later, the Duke asks her why she left Colton, and she replies that she needs him. It's difficult to manage a house alone, and most of the servants have changed. Rona admitted that she suffered without her, and Selina understands that chaos could easily begin in the palace. Without a butler, everything can fall apart. The Duke says it's her choice. She shyly promises to try, and he informs her that the victory banquet can no longer be postponed. Selina understands that victory is now the country's main source of pride, and he realizes that he delayed the banquet due to the absence of a partner. Amid pulls her closer and says her name. He puts his hand on her cheek and says that soon she will become his official wife, which makes Selina confused. After this, Madame Paul orders a dress for her and teaches her etiquette. She practices dancing with Amid, but anxiety remains in her soul. Veronica was supposed to become crown princess immediately after the war, as in the original. But Amid's reputation grew, the banquet was postponed for months, and everything turned out differently. Selena wonders if it was because of her that the plot changed. Later, she gets out of the carriage for a banquet. Rona says that the Duke will be late, and Selena agrees to wait. Seeing the crowd, she gets nervous, but Rona assures her that the lady is the most beautiful. Suddenly, she feels sick, but she says it's just dizziness. Amid comes up and asks if she should call a doctor, and she replies that everything is fine. She insists she's not that nervous. Looking at him, she thinks how handsome he is, but he asks her not to look so intently. She says that the outfit suits him very well, and he is surprised. She admits that he is truly beautiful. He touches her cheek and says that she does too, and she is pleased to hear it. But then he adds that she looks serious, and her expectation of a compliment is met with only a short yes. Selena asks him to go first, and she will come later. He hugs her from behind and tells her that he must announce to everyone that she is his wife, and she realizes that she had completely forgotten about it. She is scared and wants to run away, but the reason seems too ridiculous. He kisses her hand and promises that he will not allow anyone to hurt her. Selena is embarrassed, but goes with him. They enter the palace and servants announce the arrival of the Duke and Duchess of Ifrit. She feels many eyes on her. The Duke quietly says that everything is fine. He promises to protect her, and she smiles, feeling calm around him. She feels safe in the dance until one of the lords announces that His Majesty wishes to see Amid. He asks if she can handle it alone, and she assures him that she is not a child. But when he leaves, she gets lost. Women approach her, discuss rumors, and say that the Duke cares about her. She feels dizzy from everything she heard. Someone calls her name and asks if it is really her. One lady says she knows her, and she declares that Selena was her maid, causing surprise and whispers around. There are hints of vulgarity, but suddenly Veronica appears. She asks if they are ashamed of embarrassing others, and she says that the past does not cancel out her current status as a duchess. She asks why she is being criticized for her previous life. The girls are embarrassed, and Selena realizes that Veronica is playing the role of a good lady, and at the same time it casts a shadow on her past. Selena once considered her the ideal woman with an angelic smile. But now she calmly says that she worked as a maid because she needed work. And she is not ashamed of it, because she earned money for the sake of her younger brothers and sisters. The girls apologize, and Selena says she will forget the conversation. The Duke approaches her, and she asks how the meeting with His Majesty went and why he wanted to see him. Amid replies that he has one thing to do. They go out onto the balcony, and Selena asks if he heard the conversations in the hall, but he doesn't immediately understand what they were talking about. Then she clarifies that she's talking about her past. The Duke still doesn't get it, and she's worried that she might get him into trouble. And he carefully asks if it's true that he didn't know anything. Amid looks at her and says that her past was difficult, and of all the people he met, it was her fate that turned out to be the most difficult. Then he kisses her, and Selena feels hope for something more rise in her chest again. Returning to the hall, she notices glances from all sides, and at first thinks it is because of Amid. But turning around, he sees the Emperor himself in front of them and understands that he needs to greet him. Amid calmly turns to His Majesty and says that he wants to ask something. Selena worries that it would be impolite to remain silent, but the Emperor replies that he is ready to fulfill Duke Ifrit's request. Amid looks at him carefully, and he declares that they want to see him at their wedding, to which the Emperor replies that he understands. He raises his glass, promises to come, and wishes the Duke and Duchess Ifrit happiness, inviting everyone to congratulate them. Selena turns around in shock, not understanding what is happening. She quietly asks Amid what this all means. He calmly replies that she is perfect for him as a wife. Selena sighs and asks if he's rushing things, but he says that a wedding only happens once in a lifetime, and he wants to give her unforgettable memories. She smiles and kisses him, noticing how charming he looks today. Veronica watches them from afar. Later, Selena is already sitting in her office, seriously preparing for the wedding. Now she is a duchess and has many responsibilities. The dress is ready, all that remains is to decide who to invite. She thinks that the Emperor himself will be at the wedding. This means there will be too many people willing to come, and she enthusiastically begins to make a list. At this moment, the maid announces that someone from the jewelry store has arrived with a wedding gift. Selena is surprised, and the jeweler greets her and says that the decoration was created by order of the Duke. She asks again if this is really his initiative, and the master asks her not to be surprised. He explains that it is a commemorative coin in honor of their marriage, and Selena is speechless, as such coins are usually minted for state events. The jeweler replies that the wedding of the commander of the Knights of the Sun is also a great event. After all, they are the ones who protect the empire. Selena looks at the coin and can't believe it. She thinks that Amid is like the sun, and she even feels a little awkward. The jeweler explains that she is looking at the back and asks to turn the coin over. Selena is embarrassed when she sees the engraving. In front of her is a portrait of the two of them, and the master asks if she likes it. He adds that they will be thrown around in the parade on their wedding day, and Selena just smiles. She jokes that it's like a golden shower, and she thinks to herself that such a scale could easily make her lose her composure. Later, she's informed of Veronica's visit. She comes in, bows, and congratulates Selena on her wedding, and Selena thanks her. Veronica says that Duke Ifrit is her childhood friend. Selena understands that the Marquis adopted her at the age of 15, but almost no one knows about it. Everyone considers her to be their own daughter, and even Amid didn't say anything, which seems strange. In the novel, Veronica grew up in love, but now Selena feels that there is something else hidden behind the smile. Veronica says she is glad to meet you, and she adds that she only came to congratulate and will leave soon. She mentions a wedding, and Selena asks what it is. Selena apologizes, saying that she has already sent out invitations, and Veronica, smiling, reminds that she is the Crown Prince's mistress. Selena calmly replies that she is not the Crown Princess. Veronica leaves, promising to see her later, and Selena wonders if she even invited her. She calls Colton and asks him to find out everything about Veronica. He says that she was born in the capital, but Selena asks to find hidden details that no one talks about. Later, the maids help her get ready, and Rona admires her beauty. Selena thanks her and realizes that today is their wedding. Her heart is beating too fast, and suddenly someone asks her to wait. This is Amid. He comes up and asks to go with him. They arrive at the ceremony site, and he admits to being a little nervous. He's afraid she won't show up at the altar like she did when she left. Selena says things are different now. She adds shyly that today she will officially become his wife, and notices that he looks great. He responds in kind, and they are announced to the guests. The Crown Prince applauds. Even Mother Amida, although displeased, still claps, and Selena feels as if it is a dream. Now they are an official couple. The priest declares that their union is blessed by God. Selena realizes that everything really happened. Amid kisses her, and she feels warmth, realizing that this is their wedding. In the evening, he asks her what she is thinking about, and she replies that she wants to sleep. He wonders if it is too early and if she is not feeling well. She says everything is fine, and he admits that he wants to ask something. He asks if she will leave him again, and she reminds him that their contract is over. He replies that it's not about the contract, and she understands that she should have let him go. Amid hugs her tightly and says that she is now his wife and will not leave. And even if he never gets an answer, he still won't let her go. Selena is embarrassed, remembering that she initially wanted to leave right away. But now, looking at him, she wants to be his happy wife. Meanwhile, Veronica complains to the Crown Prince that she was not invited to the wedding. She reproaches him, saying how difficult it was to win over the queen, and she reminds that she assured everyone that the jewels belonged to the queen. Then she smirks and says she did her best. She hints that the prince has rejected the queen's heart and started a war, and now it's time for him to act. The prince replies that the duke always took what should have been his, and the simple commander of the knights looks down on him. Veronica warns that without the support of the Knights of the Sun, the future emperor will fail. The prince admits that now that Duke Ifrit has recovered, everything is in his hands. And although he is trying to make up for lost time, he is still weak, just like when he sent the mercenary. He asks what he should do, and Veronica advises him to stay calm. And he reminds us that he is an outstanding man and a future emperor. The prince embraces her, and she asks him to be patient and not to provoke Duke Ifrit unnecessarily.